So we've reached a new plane. That's why I say, as much as so much has changed hugely, everything stays the same. So what has this got to do with AI? One of the things we noticed, and Fintech, is that it really isn't how much money the person, to make money, okay? It's not how much money they have that makes them profitable. Okay, they bring a lot of cash in, a lot of float, but they probably don't have a lot of float because their cash is, the money is tied up in some structured investment somewhere, but they're rich, right? But they also can afford the best accountants to manage their money and come and challenge you for every little fee you charge. But you know, you might have somebody else who just has cash. It sits there, they get their salary, they're spending the end of the month. You have many, many, many millions of those people. You charge them a little transaction, it's just under the threshold. It comes down to the attitude to money. The other thing we then realized is, how do you get into the rhythm of your customer's life? Okay? So the platforms we have now, the fintech platforms and everything, gives us the opportunities to pull together all of these things to get into the rhythm of our customers' lives. Okay? We did a lot of work on analysis and technology that was difficult to make happen. Now, you know, we just go on the internet. You don't have to have a little squeak and everything. It's sort of broadband. It's on the phone. It's all transformed. And we've been doing AI for a long, long time. It's just that the combination of cloud, huge connectivity, capacity, capability, you know, I call it, you know, sort of hyperscale connectivity and huge data, gargantuan data is, you know, gargantuan is huge, huge, you know, that we have now. Plus the processing ability and data centers that we have all over the world. That's why data centers are so important now, and subsea cables and connectivity and all of that, because they underpin everything we take for granted now, okay? Banks used to build their own data centers. I would say to businesses, why build a data center? You need agile infrastructure. Those days when you didn't have colocation data centers like OADC and so on, you didn't have a choice. I had to build one, which is why I then went into this infrastructure business. But now you don't have to. It's agile infrastructure. So any bank that's running its own data centers, now what I say to the CEOs is, you need to expand, so you do a capital expenditure request for $2 million. You take it to the ExCo, they sign it, you do supplier selection, it takes you 6 months to build and 8 months. By then, your competitors that have agile infrastructure have moved on. And they're now thinking of AI, oh my God, we're going to pay all these servers and everything for AI. So agile, it moves. So all the fintech companies now will leverage agile infrastructure. So what AI brings now is then to use the baseline of infrastructure that's there, agile infrastructure, cloud, locally, with the performance now and customer experience, latency is very, very important. So we have to have great connectivity that sits locally, plus great infrastructure that allows you to expand. So what I'll use to close out is this. AI, therefore, gives you the opportunity. One, agility. It allows you to get into the rhythm of your customer's life. It allows you to deploy significantly quicker. And we have underpinning infrastructure in place now that allows you agile infrastructure to move very, very, very quickly. And it is those that get those things together that will win. Get into the rhythm of your customer's life. So as a sponsor, that therefore gives me the prerogative to say, well, what about open access data centers? Well, it brings together agile infrastructure of interconnectivity and cloud, locally, takes latencies out, allows you to move forward very, very quickly. It brings out a global perspective that hooks up with those cloud providers and AI providers. You start to get GPUs as a service. We're starting to see that. So that you can actually focus on what you need to do, focus on the best use of AI, focus on how you use that to transform the speed of delivery, focus on how you deliver amazing customer experience, and think about how you get into the rhythm of your customer's life. Then it comes down to collaboration, intermediation, disintermediation, and co-mediation. Therefore, you need to think of other products and services beyond just cash and pay that will put all of those things together. For my role as OADC CEO is to give the underlying infrastructure to make that happen successfully. Have a great event, and thank you very much for listening.
Can we do another set of a round of applause for him, please? There's something that he said which is a takeaway for me, and he said, and as much as things are changing, some things are still staying the same, and I think that stuck with me, because we live in a society where you constantly feel like you need to change and you constantly feel like you need to evolve, but the reality is that certain things need to stay the same. Can we please give another round of applause for that? Ladies and gentlemen, now we move to innovation, product pitches, and showcases, and this is what we have tagged the crescendo. I'd like to first bring our first speaker, and of course this is themed how mobile apps can beat hackers at their own game. Please help me welcome to the front Damilola Akinsola. This is cybersecurity consultant at Ethos Cyber Limited.
Good afternoon. I hope we're all having a great time so far. Are we? Awesome. So standing on existing protocols, right? I want us to play a quick game. Are we ready for the game? Okay, so how many of you here have heard of the viral keep a finger down if you've done something? By show of hands, let me know. Awesome. So we're going to add a little twist to our own game, right? So first of all, I want you all to put one hand up, just like this. Everyone, I want to see the hand up. Yeah. Hand up. Okay, awesome. Now I'm going to read out a list of statements. Based on the statements I read, you can either keep your hand up or you keep your hand down. Do we get it? Are we ready? Are we ready? Okay, great. Okay, so keep your hand up if you've used a mobile application today. Keep your hand up if you've used a mobile application today. It could be WhatsApp, TikTok, Instagram, your banking application. Okay, great. So we have a lot of hands up. Now, keep your hand up if you've ever made payments or transfer through an application. If you've ever made payments or transfer through an application, keep your hand up. No hands are going down. How come? So all of us have made payments, right? Okay, good. Now, keep your hand up if you've checked your account balance in the last 24 hours. Okay, some hands are going down. All right, so we still have a lot of hands up. Okay, great. Now, put your hands down if you've ever worried that one day you will wake up and all your money in your bank account will disappear. Put your hands down. Oh, wow. Okay, so a lot of hands are down. All right. But we still have some hands up. Okay, good. All right. Now, I want you to put your hands down if you've actually read the privacy or security policy of your mobile application. Please don't lie, yo. If you've read the privacy policy of your mobile app, it could be your banking app, whatever app, put your hands down. Now, I want you to put your hands down if you're 100% sure that the mobile applications that you're using on a daily basis are secure against hackers. Okay, so we have just, oh wow, there's no even hand here. Okay, just one. So I can see that we have a contrasting reality here with the number of hands that went up and the number of hands we have now, right? That shows that we have a problem. And I have a friend seated right here today. And it's the main reason I'm even on this stage giving this presentation. Because if you, as consumers, are not fully confident in how secure your mobile applications are, then how do you think those who build the mobile applications feel? Most likely worse. Is that not so? In 2018, my friend, I'm just going to call him Matthew, he's right here now. He launched his first mobile application. And it was just simply to help Nigerians in the diaspora send money back home to their families and friends. And it was a great milestone for him because I remember getting back together with him to, celebrate the milestone he had hit. It was every fintech founder's dream because when he launched the application, it hit the ground running. Month after month, the user base increased massively. He attracted a lot of customers. So much so that in 2019, he attracted a different kind of customers. These are the kind of customers business owners dread. I hope you know the kind of customers I'm talking about. So, in 2019, these customers said, oh, we have a new fish in town. Why don't we go pay them a visit, right? And what they did was they took Matthew's application and cloned the application. It was so difficult for a user to tell the difference between the actual application and the cloned application. Now, I gave it to Matthew because he reacted really swiftly. He brought in some security personnel to fix the issues. They did some audits and, life moved on. But something happened in 2020. These people came back again. They were like, oh, we're able to successfully, do this with this application. Let's go pay them another visit again. And the truth about these people is that they always come back. They always come back. And you know what they do? They will first test out that loophole that you initially have. If they notice that you fixed it, then they move on to exploit various methodologies or other methodologies. So they did the same thing again with Matthew's application. They cloned it again this time, and unfortunately, they were successful. But this time it was worse because the investors started complaining, what is going on? Why are you losing money to hackers? The customers started getting angry and started pulling out of the application. So I met Matthew and told him, what's up? You cannot have a friend working in cybersecurity and then you're falling victims to hackers every time. What is the problem? Have you considered investing in a mobile application security solution? And he said, Dami, you won't be the first person to tell me. Immediately the first attack hit, I sat down with over 20 vendors, foreign vendors who sell MESP, which is a mobile application security platform. But how do you expect me to invest $100 million or 100 million naira to buy a solution when my turnover profit per year is not even up to 70 million naira? So I sat down with him and told him, you're actually right. Because it's not like we founders do not care about security. But it's quite unreasonable for me to pay a large sum of money when there's no ROI in terms of my business. So the truth is, a lot of applications out there are vulnerable. In fact, according to a study done by Salt Security in 2022, it was discovered that about 95% of fintech applications are vulnerable. They contain secret tests that can be extorted or extracted to make a clone of your application. Coupled with the fact that in 2024 alone, Nigerian financial institutions lost about 52.26 billion naira to financial fraud. The figures are staggering, right? And we need to do something about it. So I went home that night and I thought to myself, why is it that businesses are not being able to invest in security solutions based on the fact that they don't have enough money? Because the fact that I work in a cybersecurity firm, I know how much the solutions go for. I sell them. But the people who buy the solutions are the big shots in the industry. So what about the other businesses? Are they saying that they are not worthy enough to be protected or what? So I told myself that, no, I have to talk to my team members about it. And I did. And we started working on Aquila. So Aquila was built to help protect mobile applications from the inside out. And when Aquila was built, of course, Matthew's company was the first to test it out. We had to give it to them. And I told Matthew that, calm down, they will come back. I'm sure that they will come back. I didn't know hackers. And so we noticed that the vulnerability that they exploited the first time, where they were able to clone the application, we built a feature whereby even if they try to decompile your application, it won't be successful. You can also apply code authentication to your code, whereby it's all gibberish and doesn't make sense to the attacker, even if they're able to decompile it successfully. You also want to prevent, running on rooted devices. So these are just a few of the features we applied on his application, and then it was just a waiting game. And so in 2024, they came back. So I cannot say if it's the same hacker, but of course, they tried the same technique again. And of course, they say the rest is what's history. So Matthew can testify to the fact that after he used Aquila, they tried to clone his application, but it was not successful this time around after implementing these features. Now, compared to what these foreign solutions sell out there, these are things that we have researched and discovered how to implement them in Aquila and do so much more without having to discriminate based on how big your pocket is. So, if you'd like to know more about how Aquila can help you protect your mobile application, come visit us at our booths. Thank you.
I must say, that was a beautiful presentation. Please, a round of applause once again for her. And you know that hacking is one of the major problems that business owners face, business owners that use technology. And it's amazing that they've provided solution for both SMEs and large-scale business owners. Now we're moving on to Approve HR. Please, let's fix our eyes on the screen for a video, a very short video, media. Amazing. You just watched a video for Approve HR, and this is still innovation, product pitches, and showcases. At this time, join me welcome the MD CEO, School Technologies, Mr. Kehinde Oseni. A round of applause, please. We are not clapping. Now we are. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, and thanks for that video. So I think I might have to steal, by the way, great presentation, Damila. I have to steal Damila's style there. How many how many of you in this room is currently employed or you are an employer of labor? Okay, so now here's the question. Is anyone in this room, maybe given at a time where you have to go to your performance appraisal and you felt like you've just not been justified? I mean, you felt some sort of injustice in your performance appraisal. Anyone in this room? You feel like you've just not been given an accurate appraisal, and maybe somebody was just not happy with you, your employer, or it could be the HR person. Any hands in this room? Now, one of the things we decided to do, by the way, like I was introduced, we run a tech company called School Technologies. And coming into the system, we found that a lot of the time are looking at different application out there that solves the problem of HR solution. We realized that there are a whole lot of gaps that the market is not addressing or the solution is not addressing. Then we decided, what can we do differently? We came up with responsible AI. Now, the whole concept of using responsible AI to change the narrative and the landscape of how human resources and talent are being managed, and which is why my topic is actually focusing on how is artificial intelligence transforming or reshaping the talent industry. And I'll tell a story to start with that. I've been privileged to have worked with a top consulting firm, and I have also been privileged to sit down in a room where we actually determine and we're making decisions with zero empirical data or fact, but just by emotions or just by subjective facts. Well, maybe an alternative reality, correct? And we sit down in this room and we call it laddering session, which means we're reviewing people's performance. And I will hear people say something like, I don't just like the way she dressed. I don't like the way she talked, or something like that. I mean, then I sit down there and wonder, you're basically making a very important decision about someone's career growth just by your subjective opinion. Where is the data? And several times I've seen this happen. Be mindful. One thing will happen. It's either you're out of the door after that meeting or you're promoted after that meeting. So people's life decision has been made with zero data. And we'd say, we got to change that. So what Approve HR is essentially doing differently is that Approve HR is basically not just taking your supervisor's opinion. It's not just taking your supervisors just, not really liking you or whatever emotional sentiment it feels, towards you. We know for a fact that we're not going to be able to eradicate bias in workplaces, correct, in those decision making. But how can we reduce that by leveraging responsible AI? So what Approve HR basically provide you is the power to the people, to the employee themselves. So a case where your supervisor felt like, no, I don't like you, so I'm going to give you a 4/10 on your performance appraisal. But wait a minute. The data across the entire organization ecosystem is showing that you are an optimal performer. You have 9/10. Your supervisor is saying 4/10. No, that is going to change. Because then the executive will have to look through it and say, okay, wait a minute, why this disparity? So Approve HR essentially is trying to address some of those fundamental issues when it comes to talent and how we upskill, either reskill, or even ladder people in organizations. Again, remember what I said. I have been there before. I've been in those rooms where people's life and people's livelihood were being decided all based on pure emotions, and that will change. Let's run through a little bit of time. I'll just run through some of the slides. Now, let me give you another use case in this sense. Take an example. Have you ever wondered in a world where a system can take my job description, or essentially what the objective of my role is, and create a KPI or some sort of OKRs from that job description? And basically, what then look at it, okay, I'm just every day I come to work. But the system is asking you daily questions. The system is basically tracking you from how you respond and how quickly respond to your email. It's looking at how much of your project you're moving from your Kanban board from left to right. It's looking at how, so it's basically taking your digital footprint in terms of your performance and giving you a score and a rating based on the, on the performance. Have you ever imagined what that looks like? And that's what Approve HR is going to do. And that's what Approve HR is set out to do. So it's basically looking at your performance growth and laddering you with empirical fact. And there is absolutely nothing any organization will be able to do with that, because you know why? When I promote somebody or when I ladder someone to a role that is a complete misfit for them, can you imagine what's going to happen? I just like David, my very good friend there, David. I just like him. But you know what? I'm just going to put him in a CTO role. David has no technological background. He has no customer-based background. David is just a, maybe pure marketing guy. What do you expect is going to happen? Productivity will definitely diminish, correct? Ultimately, there is absolutely nothing you're probably going to make out of that role. And think about it from an employer perspective or from an organization perspective. 2 things is going to happen or 3 things is going to happen. I may have to fire David, correct? Then I have to spend more money to go and now rehire somebody, go through that entire process. Or I may just have to let's manage David through, but here I am. Performance, so productivity out of the way. I can't get David to deliver what needed to be delivered based on fixed budget. But now David is running me down the hole. So I have a whole lot of decision to make at that point. But ultimately, when David is not delivering based on what is expected, my bottom line as an organization is affected. Do I really want to take that risk? Now, what Approve HR is almost front-loading that risk for you, an assessment for you, saying that, no, don't plug a square peg in a round hole, because ultimately you're going to suffer for that. So we are saying, how do we leverage responsible AI to be able to make sure that people, which is the biggest asset, everybody talk about data,
Hello,
is one of your
hello, good
ultimate
morning. How are
assets.
you?
People are not, the process is not built, people are built over process, correct? You are not going to have a process that cannot be run by people.
Oh,
So
you didn't go
it's
to
time
work.
to start focusing on people and their growth, essentially putting people where they belong in an organization. And again, Approve HR is solving that problem. One of also important points I want to raise also.
No,
Paid
skip
alone.
them. I'm telling you,
In a
not
lot
very
of
much.
in a lot of HR solution out there today, what happens? You want a loan for or some sort of loan
In fact,
facility
listen.
for maybe your rent or something. Just look, can you give me an upfront of 3 months or something? A lot of people go through a long process, lengthy process. Approve HR
Going
seamlessly
today.
reduce that process level, that processes to almost, I'm telling you, less than a minute. You will be able to go through that process. And what that process then lands you into is giving you an option power, and is bringing power to you as a people, as an employee. Because what?
Okay.
Approve HR then takes you to a marketplace of lenders. Now, in that case,
Well,
the organization is
I'm
not
driving to
forcing
work.
you towards a particular lender, and is not forcing you towards a particular rate, which sometimes it's rather ridiculous when you hear. But it's basically saying that, oh, these are
You got on
lenders that have been
515.
approved
You met
by
them.
Approve HR. We work with them, we understand them, we will
Did you meet
negotiate the
them?
rate and basically provide you that opportunity
Oh,
as an
today?
employee to be able to access that. Again,
That's when your sister.
remember what I said.
Oh, boy.
What Approve HR is doing is bringing
So
the
where's she
power
going to
back
stay
to
today?
the people. Organizations today are looking for solutions that will help them
Oh, it's your
streamline this,
sister. No,
entire
it's
process.
Abu. That's
But
your
what we're
cousin.
looking at, what we see out there is, again, it's just
Yeah, when is your
plethora
sister
of
coming in?
widgets and nice features on the dashboard
So
or on an
Aboki will be with
application
you till
that
Friday.
really does not add up, or contribute to essentially
It's on Wednesday and
productivity,
Thursday.
even your growth as an employee. And one last thing, because of my time, that I want to talk about is also with Approve HR. It's also important for you to understand
Yeah,
that when
but
we're talking about, remember when I mentioned
yeah,
that
emotion.
your KPIs and OKRs are developed from your JD. Your supervisor go through it, approves it, and once that KPI is being, assigned
Hello,
to you,
Mosake
there is an
Motiche,
expectation. Let's take a scenario quickly that at the end of the term, at the end of this performance cycle, you've only completed 70% of your KPIs. Then what happened to 30%? Now, two things will happen. Does the employer or supervisor want to write you up and let you go or lay you off? Or would they rather say, hey, listen, let's invest in this fellow because we know we can get more out of him. So what will happen? We have, HR does have an integrated LMS, fully loaded LMS. And remember, we're not talking about Gen AI here or splashing the Gen AI. We're talking about deep learning solution. So what happened is that it basically goes into the LMS and it QR courses that will bridge the gap for you. I will say, okay, let's assume that you're lacking communication, emotional intelligence. Courses for you. Supervisor approves it. Once you complete it, remember your knowledge that's what we call upskilling. Your knowledge base has just increased. And that can also contribute to the metrics of your performance, and which ultimately will lead to you being lauded. Remember, being put into giving you what you rightly and duly deserve as an employee. Again, please look out, Approve HR, check out the website, and please join the wait list as we launch very soon. Thank you so much, everyone.
We can clap better. We can clap
I thought
better.
you were drawing up
Ladies and
one.
gentlemen, I know that it is a packed program, so I'd like you to just give yourselves a round of applause for staying, for participating, and also for being attentive in your listening. You can clap for yourselves. Now, when we talk about tech, even if it is fintech, I know that our previous speaker spoke about mobile apps, but what would mobile apps be without a mobile cell phone? So to come up and give us the next presentation by Huawei, I know that there are some Chinese words that are hard to pronounce, Honda and Huawei, some of them, some say Huawei, some say Huawei, but I think it's Huawei, and our next speaker should come up and actually give us a proper tutorial on how to pronounce this. I'd like to please bring to the front Jimo Ehi Oko. This is the solution architect at Huawei.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me very loud and clear? I just want to see your hands. Can you hear me at the back there? Can you hear me from here? All right. All right, my name is Jimo Ehioko, and I'm a senior solution architect at Huawei Cloud. Today, I want to talk to you briefly on how Huawei Cloud accelerates innovation for the fintech industry. But before I go ahead, I want to quickly say something. You know, a lot of people come to me and say, we are now in the era of AI, and AI is going to replace a lot of things. It's similar to when you have a new sheriff in town, or maybe, let's say you have a new president, there's going to be cabinet reshuffle, right? Maybe some old guys are going to go, and then some new guys are going to come. All right, so in the context of AI, a lot of things will change, but something will remain constant. And that was what the second speaker, right, spoke about. Some things are going to remain constant. And one of the things that will remain constant is the cloud. And the truth is that every other thing, AI will reshape every other thing. AI may take jobs. AI is going to define how transactions for fintechs is going to go, how to optimize financial processes and operations. But the cloud will always remain constant. Why? Because the cloud is the foundation for AI. So we have a concept called the cloud for AI and the AI for cloud. So the AI helps to make the cloud better. So the cloud will always be the foundation for AI. All right, so let me just quickly go ahead and run through this slide because of time. All right, so Huawei Cloud, over the years, I'll be very honest saying this, that there is no other cloud service provider out there that has done so much for the fintech space or the financial sector like what Huawei Cloud has done. Over the last couple of years, we've rolled out 33 regions around the world. These are cloud data centers, and these data centers are AI ready. So you need to run AI workloads, you need to deploy your fintech applications. We have 33 different regions around the world, all continents inclusive. And these regions, in some of these regions, we have 2, 3, 5 availability zones. So the concept of availability zones is simply multiple data centers in the same region, right? So we have about 93 across 170 countries. Now, we also serve more than 500 financial customers around the world. Now, follow me. The top 2 banks in the world use Huawei Cloud. The top 2 banks in the world, number 1 and number 2 by financial assets, use Huawei Cloud. The largest bank in Singapore use Huawei Cloud. One of the biggest banks in South Africa use Huawei Cloud. Some of the biggest banks in Nigeria use Huawei Cloud. One of the largest fintech in Nigeria, OPay, use Huawei Cloud. All right, so I'm saying to every fintech here that Huawei Cloud is well positioned to take your fintech business to the next level. We've also positioned ourselves and cooperated with global financial partners around the world to provide core banking, payment, risk control solutions that you can build on top of. Then also we have all right. So for the support for sustainable innovation in fintech cuts across different areas for us. We provide you with flexible deployment options for infrastructure. For example, if you're looking at deploying just infrastructure as a service, maybe a computing instance, maybe a storage, or you're looking at doing something even more cloud native, like microservices, middlewares, you're trying to do something around Kubernetes, all of these have a platform on Huawei Cloud that you can leverage on. I'll give us an example. On the Huawei Cloud platform today, you are able to rely on resilient infrastructure, so that's built on a very secure foundation. You're also to take advantage of our leading technology in terms of platform as a service. You're also able to harness what we call the shared experience by going to the marketplace and using solutions that are available from our partners as well. So something else we have done again is that on the platform, in terms of the infrastructure, it's so designed that it helps you reduce your IT cost at the end of the day. You're also able to maximize your financial application productivity, and as well as have infinite innovation in terms of infrastructure. In Africa today, what we've done differently, we are the only cloud service provider in Africa that has more than 3 availability zones today. So that means if your business runs just beyond Nigeria, maybe you also have customers beyond Nigeria, maybe in South Africa or in Northern Africa, say Egypt, for example, you have a data center that is very close to those customers. In Africa as a whole, we have about 5 of them, 3 AZs in South Africa. We also have an availability zone in Egypt. We have 1 now in Nigeria. And then all of these are also interconnected together, as you can see the dotted lines on the screen here. So what that means is that if there is ever a failure in any of the connection lines, there is another line available to ensure that your business will keep running. The customers you see on the screen here, these are customers that we have in the financial sector that are currently using Huawei Cloud. An example here is First Bank. As you can see, this is a case study. You also have OPay here. OPay is very big in Nigeria. We have Zest here. We also have MTN here. We have System Specs, that's Remita here. We have PalmPay. We have Nigerian Police Force Microfinance Banks. These are customers that AppZone, are very important to mention AppZone. AppZone is also here. These are customers that trust and use Huawei Cloud, right? So the advantages you would get, like I've mentioned earlier, running on Huawei Cloud, your infrastructure on Huawei Cloud, is ultra low latency. So this is the slide that talks about the Huawei local cloud in Nigeria. So last year, November last year specifically, we became the first cloud service provider to roll out a tier 4 data center. That's a tier 3 plus, that's a tier 4 data center in Nigeria. So what that means is that all of those services, all of those applications that you naturally would have hosted in places like Ireland, right? It can now reside in Nigeria. And what that means, again, for your own business and your own consumers who are utilizing your application is an improvement in user experience for them. So in terms of, to define this, to make this very simple for those that are not so technology savvy, if you were to put your application, for example, let's say in a country like Ireland, where many fintechs put their application, right? What, in terms of connection time, that connection time is about 120 milliseconds. So to translate that in very simple terms, it takes a longer time for you load a fintech application. It takes a longer time for you to get the response time back. But with this in Nigeria, what this simply means for you is that consumers who are using your application loads in real time because it is located here in Nigeria. It means that the connection time is instant and they get the response time faster. Then also, the fact that we have a local cloud in Nigeria here also means that data is resident here in Nigeria. So if you are trying to comply with CBN, you're trying to comply with NDPA and all of those local laws, it is far much easier for you right now to achieve that compliance easily. And the third thing again is that there are availability of services just within your doorstep here. So all of those services you naturally would have gone abroad to go get, they are all available within the local data center here. All right, so I think this guy is misbehaving. I think it just messes around. All right. So I think the next one I want to talk about is security, right? So what Huawei Cloud has done in the area of security, can you help me fix this guy? Right. So I think what Huawei Cloud has done in the area of security, so I'll just go ahead and talk about security if the slide is not showing up. So what Huawei Cloud has done in the area of security is that we've provided, 7 different layers of security to our customers. So the very first layer is what we call the identity security. So this ensures that the data center where your fintech application is going to reside in is secure. So you come to the cloud data center today around the world, say in the one in Nigeria, you go to the one in Johannesburg. There are different checks that need to happen before you can get access to it. Then there is identity security, there's application security, there is network security, there is host security, and we have complied with local laws like I mentioned, NDPA, as well. All of the PCI DSS are all covered. All of the global ISOs that you care about today are all covered as well. Then also, if you're looking at AI, I'll just be very fast. I think the slide, I'll just go talk about this slide. So if you're looking at AI today as well, so we've developed capability in the area of AI to ensure that whatever AI use cases you're looking at giving to your customer today, maybe integrating into your fintech application, they are all covered. So this is a use case for OPay, as you can see on your screen. OPay uses the EKYC, for example. They also use something called intelligent marketing based on natural language processing. So all of those, all of those chats or calls that you have, all of those things, AI goes behind the scene and detects the intention from those calls and then determines what the customer wants to actually buy or what product the customer is interested in. Use that in product development and feature making at the end of the day. So this is one of those use cases that we also available for financial customers. Then in terms of resilience, we also talk about the fiber cuts that happened last year, how Huawei was able to handle this. As you can see on the screen here, right? So that was last year where you had the undersea fiber cable cuts. None of Huawei's data centers were affected because of the redundancies we built into all of those products. In the area of support, one of those areas we're also able to provide you value is in the area of support. 24/7 support locally available. So we have a dedicated team here in Nigeria that can provide dedicated support for you as well. And then finally, we talk about shared experience and shared excellence. What this simply means is that Huawei Cloud has partnered with, and this is my final slide. Huawei Cloud has partnered with global financial sectors around the world. I mentioned that financial companies around the world, and I talked about the top 2 banks. I talked about the top fintechs around the world as well. And these guys have solutions that they've used over time. For example, risk control systems, digital wallet systems that they've built and developed over time. And these are available on Huawei Cloud Marketplace. So if you are a new fintech, for example, you are trying to maybe launch a loan product, or you're trying to launch a wallet product, for example, or you're trying to build something around risk control, you can tap into that rich ecosystem. That's a robust marketplace that we have, and be able to redeploy these services without having to reinvent the wheel. So this is talking about the shared experience and shared excellence that's available on Huawei Cloud today. All right, so what we have on Huawei Cloud appeals not just to the new fintech startup, it also appeals to existing brands that are there. If you're going to use AI, you need a cloud platform where it is going to run. A scalable platform, a secure platform that is going to run smoothly. and you're going to get the best user experience. And this is what Huawei Cloud represents, and this is what we've come to tell you this morning. And we're also available for a POC. So what that means is that if you want to try out anything at any point in time, you can just come to our stand, and then let's get what your use cases are. We can organize a section with you, give you some free crowd resources on the platform, and then you can get to deploy. And when you reach a stage where you are happy with your output, and then we can talk about commercials. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Please give him another round of applause. And do not forget to visit his stand, like he said. Wow, it's getting hot in here. Listening to all the ideas and innovations. Mind is already buzzing with new ideas. I'm sure your mind is buzzing with new ideas as well. Am I right? I see, you're jotting things down. That means you're in the right place. You're in the right place. This is still Nigerian FinTech Week 2025. And I want you to get ready because this next session is going to be very exciting. So if you are dozing off, just tap your neighbor. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Tell your neighbor to wake up. You know that song, G Masun. All right, let's do that. Tell your neighbor, G Masun. G Masun. Amazing. Because this is going to be really interesting. And the next session is themed Orchestrating with Skill and Resilience by Signal Alliance Technology Holdings, SAF. And let me give you one expo. There are gifts to be won, so you need to pay attention. Now join me, welcome upstage with a resounding round of applause, the head of products, Signal Alliance Technology Holding, Kingsley Iyang. Please put your hands together for him. You're not clapping like you're ready to win gifts. Now that's better. Amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Please, let's wake up if you are sleeping. Just like she said, there's a lot of gifts to be won. It's going to be a very interactive section as a follow-up to our panel section yesterday. Yesterday, we did a panel section where we discussed about the fintech industry, the challenges, and how managed services is helping the fintech company to be more resilient. Please, let me go on while the slide is up. So like we discussed yesterday, we discussed part of those challenges that the fintech industry are facing and some of those ways that the fintech industry can continue to stay resilient, can also continue, to get customer trust. Some of the things that we discussed was around this one. Okay, as part of a recap, some of the things we discussed were why resilience matters today in the fintech industry. We talked about the digital first expectation. The digital industry, the fintech industry is known for one thing, which is speed. And because of the speed and innovation that the fintech brings into financial sectors, you would agree with me that the presence of the fintech industry today has redefined the way financial services operate. It has redefined the way customer makes decisions. It has also defined the way technologies are being used within the financial industry. So it is good to say a big thank you to the fintech industry that has made the paradigm shift within the financial sector. So we talked about digital first. Digitalization is one of the, highlights of the fintech industry. We looked at regulatory pressure, and we said that resilience matters today because of the regulators. A lot of regulatory policies within the fintech that if you fail to abide to it, the cost of remediating is higher than the cost of even running the business. Then we looked at cloud migration, which is the mainstream today in the fintech. So if you talk about resilience, if you talk about scaling up, you quite agree with me that the cloud migration is the technology for such kind of business. So a lot of the fintech company today has redefined how cloud is being used in their business. And then we also look at customer expectation, where we said that today's customers are they are the Gen Z, right? So they are the short-looking at their fingertips. If your system is slow or sweet, they don't want to hear explanations. If your process cannot give them what they want within the time, they switch. And mind you, with the mobile technology, your competitors are just in their fingertip. So they switch over at any time. Today we'll be looking at what are other areas, and we'll be discussing around 5 pillars. So we'll have a breakout section, and is to throw what we did here on the panel is to throw it back to the audience and now get the audience feedback. And also, what are the audience thinking in terms of these 5 pillars? So we'll divide us into 5 pillars, right? Each group will pick one pillar, and then we'll ask questions, and then we'll get prize for those that answer those questions correctly. So the first pillar is the scaling infrastructure and operation, right? And then the second pillar is technology outsourcing, compliance and risks in outsourcing, customer efficiency and vendor ecosystem, and then customer experience and innovation at speed. So we'll go to the questions. The questions are already here, so you can have a look at it. Okay, so these are the questions. We have 4 rules. Okay, so I'll give each rule a particular area to look at, and then we can just share ideas. 1 question for each rule. We can form a team and then answer that 1 question, and then at the end of it, under 5 minutes, 1 person will stand up and read out what the answer to those questions are, and then we can give the gift. So let me share into 4 rows. We have staff standing there to assist each of the group. So this row here will take the first question, scaling infrastructure and operation. And what's the question? How are managed services helping our organization to scale their business without efficiency or control? That question is for this role. I'll take that again. How are managed services helping organizations to scale their operations without efficiency and control? That's for this role. So please, somebody will walk up to you and give you a paper to just brainstorm within yourselves and put the answers there. For this role, I'll give you the second question, technology outsourcing. How should organizations think about what to outsource versus what to keep? You know, in today's business, organizations cannot afford to outsource all their IT processes to a vendor. That's the fact. You can't afford to outsource it. You can focus on your core and outsource the other part, but you can definitely not outsource all your processes to a managed services provider, no matter how trustworthy they are. So this question goes to this group. How should organizations think about what to outsource versus what to keep in-house? Okay? And then for this group, we'll look at compliance, which I spoke about and we discussed extensively yesterday. Compliance and risks in outsourcing. As much as outsourcing is helping businesses thrive, there's also a risk in terms of compliance, which must be carefully addressed. Otherwise, we'll fall into the trap. So what emerging compliance challenges do you see with outsourcing critical operations? I'll leave that to the top. I see the best brains here. I see the top guys here. So let me leave this question to that. Compliance is your concern. So what emerging compliance challenges do you see in outsourcing, critical operations? And then for this role, I'll leave you at customer experience and innovation. How are managed services enabling organizations to innovate faster and enhance customer experience? That's for this role. So Damilola, please share the answer sheet. In 5 minutes, let's get answers, and then we can now give our gifts. Please, there are guys at the front here. Compliance is a key, very key area in outsourcing every business. So please. Okay, for this side, customer experience, innovation at speed. How are managed services enable organizations innovate fast and enhance customer experience? Let me see those that were here yesterday. We discussed that. Sorry? The third rule, compliance. What emerging compliance challenges do you see with outsourcing critical operations, especially within the fintech? We have 3 minutes to do this. I think they are very easy questions. If any group is ready, we can take it, please. You want to take the question again? Is there any group ready? I'm seeing a lot of collaboration within this group, and I mean, that's good. Three more minutes. Two more minutes. If your group is done, you can signify with your hands. One more minute. Twenty-four seconds. 2. 10 seconds left. 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. Any group with answers? Is there any group with answers? Is there any group that's ready? Okay, please.
Yeah, my name is Abiola. Yeah, so the question goes like this. Maybe I should repeat the questions again. Okay, how can organization measure the ROI of service that is being provided by third services,
Okay.
managed services? So we pick out time saved through automation, audit readiness improvement,
Excellent.
reduce incidents downtime,
Excellent.
and enhance compliance scorecard.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think AI play a big role in this.
Excellent. Please, a big round of applause for him. Please, a
Yeah.
big round of applause to him. I think this is more of a learning section for us, right? Okay, somebody else, one other person. It's good to use this opportunity for us to learn. I think I'm back in this section.
Okay, so your technical solutions can help us as an organization, yes, the team here as an organization, outsource areas where we struggle in. You know, instead of trying to specialize in that area, we can focus on our area of strength. So we outsource those areas where we, you know, that takes up a lot of our time, and also boosts our capacity and increase our productivity. Thank you.
Sorry, one question. Can you mention one of those areas that you struggle with managed services? Just one of them.
Okay, so it could be in probably HR, management, or financial services.
Okay. I know that the Jackpot syndrome has also created another kind of marks, you know, within the fintech in terms of getting the right resources, right? And because of the speed to churn your products to market, when you have people leaving the organization within the middle of a project, that can also affect the overall, you know, turnover of that project. So we can have some conversations around that, right? But you've made a very valid point. Please, a round of applause for that group. Any other group? And please, your gift is ready. Yeah, someone there, please. I think this section would have taken much time. Honestly, it's getting interesting. People want to. Please go ahead.
Okay, so our group was supposed to answer how should organizations think about what to outsource versus what to keep on technology outsourcing. And so we're suggesting that organizations can consider to outsource based on a couple of factors. One, things like core competencies or core advantages. For tasks that are key to key operations for the organization, those tasks can be in-house. They can be kept in-house because they define the core advantages of the organization, their customer trust. Functions that are supportive, standardized, or cost-driven can be outsourced. If it's going to cost less from an external vendor and they will deliver great results, then it can be outsourced other than having an in-house person.
An example is application development. Do you consider that as one?
Yes,
okay.
I do. Then evaluating each task. It's very important that each task is well evaluated by its strategic importance, expertise, again, cost efficiency and control needs. But most importantly, if an organization is going to outsource any task, they should ensure that they maintain ownership of data. Thank you.
That is where data integrity comes in, and which is one of the things that we always talk about outsourcing, data integrity. My time is up. I still have some other group, but my time is up. Can I get 1 minute, please? Can I request for 1 minute? Okay. So I won't. So there's no time to take the answers from here, but we can please signify and we'll have a conversations after this section because of time. Please, Choma, the gifts. Yes, sir. Okay. While this is going on, let them bring the gifts for our.
Okay, please bring the gifts up stage because you know we announced gifts. So let them see that we're not giving out audio gifts. Thank you. Please, another round of applause for Mr. Kingsley E. Young. We've not seen the gifts. Where are the gifts? Can you raise them up? Okay, they are gifts. They are gifts. They are gifts. Please, a round of applause for Mr. Kingsley E. Young and his team. We don't seem excited. Don't worry, the gifts are coming here as well, but it will be done off stage. Thank you. Oh, the gifts are here. Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Without wasting much of our time, we're moving on to the next thing on the agenda. What do we have?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, again, I know that you've seen that it's our culture to have a few breakout sessions. And the reason why we do that is because we want to be very intentional about covering every single thing. We don't want to leave anybody left out. So we are going to have a breakaway session, or breakaway sessions are actually already taking place because I said this is an event where very multifaceted, simultaneous things are happening all at the same time. So in this session right now, of course, this is called the Breakout Ensemble, and this is the Lifestyle Series.
Before we make that announcement, we want to give this gift out. But I'm going to ask a very simple question because Mr. Kingsley has said I should give out one gift.
So can I also get a gift? If I answer correctly, would I get a gift?
Why will you get a gift? I don't have a question for this one. Maybe you give a question for the next one.
All right.
All right. So it's going to be a generic question, but it's going to be for people on this side because you didn't get the opportunity to say anything. It doesn't look like you're interested. I might as well go home with it. All right. So my question is very simple. What's the name of the company that just had a session here now? Okay, you raise up your hand first. The full name, not abbreviation.
Signal Alliance.
That's not the full name. The full name, anybody? But you tried.
Signal Alliance Technology.
Aww.
Olin. Signal Alliance Technology Olin.
All right, he got it. A round of applause for him. Please come up for your gifts.
So am I giving my gift this side as well, or I decide, or this is mine?
No, this side has to be this side because 2 people already won from there. So we need 2 people to win from here. Congratulations. Yes.
All right, for this gift, my question is, who is the... Oh, does it have to be? It can't be centered around Fintech Nigeria. I want to see how many people are paying attention. All right, so my question is, if you were paying attention outside of the questions, the moderator, the gentleman who was actually giving the presentation, what is his name? His full name. There's a beautiful lady in orange.
Mr. Kingsley Inyang.
Okay.
Congratulations. You can come and collect your gift. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes to the front. I'll come meet you so we can share what's inside.
Okay, thank you so much once again, Seth, for that amazing session. Now we're moving on to the next session.
Yes, and as I mentioned before we gave out the prizes, that this is a breakout ensemble. I know you might be wondering why, again, I'll repeat myself, why we have various breakout sessions, and that's because there is a lot that is going on at the summit right now, and we would want to see a situation where you are able to engage, explore, and identify where your niche is being met. So again, like we said earlier on, that we've got multiple stacks which are different stages, and at this point we are going to break out again and go into various stages. There are some sessions that are already taking place, so once we break out here and you want to rush and meet those sessions, please, you can go ahead and do that. This will be our final breakout before we come back to the main stage and conclude for the day. So Victory will definitely get into the session that is taking place here. But in case you are interested in religion, how many, well, I'm not going to ask because I think all of us believe in something. If you are interested, we've got a fireside chat that is tagged The Future of Religion. And this is digitization and expanding your reach. This is basically a conversation where we look at the impact of technology on worshipers and religious services. So if you'd want to listen to that and just get an understanding of how technology, AI, how the church, how the synagogues, whatever it is that you might believe in, how that is being amalgamated and being factored into our religious beliefs.
Okay, also going on in the Rhythm Hall, we have the Software Developers Conference. It's been on since morning, since the start of day 2. So please, if you are interested, they're still at the Rhythm Hall. Please make your way down there. Also, the viewing room for Abuja and Enugu, like we said, the Nigeria Fintech Week is happening simultaneously in 3 different states: Lagos, Abuja, and Enugu. And to get a glimpse of what's happening in Enugu or Abuja, please, you can make your way to the Fusion Hall. Just make your way into the main hall, ask the ushers, and they will definitely lead you to the Fusion Hall. You can see on your screens, there's a barcode. this barcode takes you to the pictures for today. We've shared earlier the pictures from yesterday. So if you need your pictures, lovely pictures we're taking, please just scan the barcode and you'll see all the pictures for today. Right now, we're going into the session that will be happening here at the Maestro Hall. That's the main hall. Here we'll be discussing platforms, partnerships, and payments for the hospitality industry. So I and Inam will call up the panelists, but we'll start with the moderator. The moderator for this panel is the CEO, Optimus AI, Larry Basamta. Please, a round of applause for Larry Basamta. Yes, please come on stage.
And then accompanied by anywhere. And then accompanied by Larry, I would like to welcome the CEO of Niger Nomads, Yejide Runsewe. Runsewe, forgive me.
That's such a lovely name.
It's a beautiful name.
All right. We also have joining them the Chief Technology Officer, Remita, Mr. Mujib Ishola. A round of applause. Yes, he's here. Yes. All right, so we'll be leaving the floor for the moderator, Larry Basamta, to take over. So please do not forget that if you're interested in other sessions, you can make your way to the Echo Hall, Rhythm Hall. The deal room is upstairs. If you came here looking for a job, please make your way to the second floor upstairs. Just speak to the ushers and they will direct you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear us? Hello, everyone. Can you hear us? Okay, so I'm going to be up front. First thing first, we're going to be giving out cash prizes. Yes, about 800K to 3 people. I just needed to get your attention. There's no money, eh? But at least I have your attention now. I'm very pleased to have two, I could call them friends. Mujib is a very close friend. We're former colleagues and we've been friends maybe the last 10, 15 years. And Yejide, who I just met today, but I've had the best conversation with her. I must admit that we're all trying to run away from here. So we're going to use the time as best as we can. And we're simply talking about platforms, partnerships that will help power the hospitality industry. It's interesting because we're at a fintech event where maybe all the conversations are dominated by payments and DFS, which is cool. But maybe the biggest part of our lives as adults, as humans, is that we like to experience other cultures. You know, we like to move around. When I was talking to Yejide just before this, she was talking about how travel gives us an opportunity to escape. So I'm simply going to be having central, very simple conversations with MJ and Yejide. And hopefully we can share some meaningful things for you, enough for you to learn. So I'm going to start with small intros. I will allow Yejide, being the lady, to just introduce herself, what she does. MJ is going to do the same, and then we're going to go into conversations. Maybe out of the 100K that didn't exist, I can find some 2-3% and give out. So please, make una listen to us, all right? So Yejide, let's start with you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Yejide Runshewe, and my team, they like to call me the head nomad. So I am the head nomad of a hospitality company called the Casa Nomads Company. We have 2 companies under our umbrella. Niger Nomads, which focuses on travel experiences. So we curate and create travel experiences for the Nigerian traveler. And then we have Casa Nomads. So Casa Nomads focuses on stylish homes in Lagos and out of Lagos. So we have affordable and stylish homes in Lagos and out of Lagos. So think about it as a short-term rental business or shortlets, like we say it in Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A round of applause now. I can beg you, MJ.
My name is Moji Bishola, and Chief Technical Officer for Remita, a payment technology system business. We build technology that powers payments for everyone, everywhere, to do more. So think of what we do as building payment OS for everything.
Yeah. Thank you. A round of applause for Moji. A round of applause now. Okay, to the conversation, right? We're supposed to be talking about platforms and partnerships, but I want to start from hospitality itself. And maybe we should speak from a Nigerian perspective. I mean, what's the future of hospitality? And I'm asking that because of some of the conversations we had today, in the light of incremental devaluation of the Naira. I mean, when we're having this conversation, I remember my trip to Dubai, and I can't even vex now and take my family to Dubai. Okay? So I'm creative now. If my family are claiming they want to go on travel, I just say they should go to Abuja. Because I can't afford to just vex and take them to Dubai like I used to do. So I'm asking, what's the future of hospitality in the light of, I mean, Nigerians' earning power being degraded, currency being devaluated, and there's incremental barriers every day to travel, particularly external travel. I mean, I heard the US just increased their visa application fees. They've reduced the time. The UK is doing the same. I mean, what's the future, particularly for people who want to cross border before they experience hospitality? What do you think?
Well, I would always say there's rice at home, start where you are.
Okay, okay.
Yes, there's rice at home, start where you are. So I know that with travel, we travel to escape. Everybody's trying to escape something. But within Nigeria, there are multiple things you can do, even within Lagos. So I speak for Lagos, for example. There is, right now we're in Landmark, right? There's some wall climbing thing that my team had gone on like 2 months ago, and they found that experience very interesting and very exciting. So I would say start where you are. You don't have to jackpot or you don't have to run away, even though we say we travel to escape, but just start local and start where you are. There's so many things that you can experience here. There are things like cocktail making classes, the wall climbing thing I just described. There's the Nikkei Art Gallery. There are a lot of things that you can explore and experience here. And just walk your way up. That's what I would suggest. Walk your way up or start at home.
Okay, that's brilliant. Round of applause if you want to, since I've been begging for that. Well, God will judge us all. Amen. MJ, I'd like to talk some bit about tech, right? And I'm saying this particularly because of the experience I had in 2020 with the lockdown, okay? The biggest hit industry with the lockdown was hospitality, right? Because hospitality industry is experiential. You have to experience it, okay? But in 2020, everything shut down because everybody was trying to stay alive, right? And then that was the first time I realized there's a technology side to experience. I mean, people were paying to go for virtual tours. People were paying to experience stuff they were really not going to be in. And it was amazing for me. And I'm going to ask a broad question to say, what role? I mean, because part of what we're talking about is partnerships and platforms. The question is, what role will technology continue to have? Or what are the new opportunities for technology to continue to influence and drive the business of hospitality? What do you think?
Okay, so the lockdown birthed a lot of things, right? VR, for one. Aside from, being in front of your systems and trying to join parties and things, VR made the experience immersive, right? Yeah. Technology has come to stay. There's no point talking about if technology will be at the center. It is going to be one of those things that are just there. Unlike where technology was meant to give you the edge, right? If you're not having technology as part of what you're doing, then you're going to struggle to compete. Now, common AI, right? I'm not going to talk about what AI can do or can't do. It's just that if you take anything away, it'll be that it's giving us the opportunity to increase the time to truth, right? And for a business, you need that efficiency to get to the truth of it, right? So technology would always be at the heart of it. In terms of everything else around travel, you're talking about having your data to hand, right? So we've just talked about experiencing, a location, a restaurant, or a thing, right? But there are other things that comes with travel, right? Now, imagine moving from Lagos to Ghana. It's just a few hours away, right? But before now, right, if you were to pay for something in Ghana, your money would have to move
maybe outside of the continent,
over the water, and then come back, right? And then with that comes cost, intermediation, and all that happens. Now, making that whole thing more expensive, right? But with technology, especially with the PAPs, which is Pan-African Payment Settlement Systems, right? You don't need to worry about sourcing for whatever the currency is, right? You just pay with in Naira, and that happens, right? So let's move payments out of the way. Now, all the things people don't think about when they're talking about travel is things like insurance and what happens when something goes wrong.
God forbid.
God forbid, right?
No, that's how we solve it. God forbid.
Well,
God doesn't forbid everything. Eventually.
Well, it won't do what you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Now, data is crucial. That's when you know, oh, if I had tokenized my data, the insurance company would be able to give emergency information. Something as simple as missing your flight, right? You don't know how powerful these things are until they happen, right? So this is where data comes in, right?
Okay.
And what is beginning to happen this more and more is that your data is being tokenized in such a way that you don't have data sprawls all over the place. Now, that's going to be a big thing. Data will keep being the fuel that drives the growth of most industry, but especially the travel industry, because personalization is a thing, right? Personalization is a thing, and you need to be able to respond to things when they happen, especially with your customers, right? You don't want to wait on to find out that their hotel, well, it happened recently to me anyway. You book a hotel, they've canceled it for whatever reason, right? And then you're standing there, right?
Whoa.
But with data being classified and categorized properly and systems being in place, they are triggered not just to tell me something has happened, but to, you know what, raise a cancellation, raise a refund request, book me a new hotel that is not too far from the current one I have, and things like that. So again, data is going to be, our technology is going to be.
Certainly. Thank you so much. I'm going to come to platforms. If you asked me, maybe my best, most qualitative conversation at this program was with you. Eh?
Oh, thank you.
Seriously, it was exciting. And when you were telling me how you built your business from a passion, it got me giggly. I'm like, this is not working. This babe is not working, right? She's having fun. And it's important because there's nothing sustainable you build without platforms. And when you were telling me how you've built your business from the Instagram platform and how you've built the whole underlying prism of the business on the platform of your own maybe blog, could you tell us how that is being built from a business perspective? And then could you help us explain how Nigerians in the world, in the technology first world that we're in today, can use such platforms at a retail level to experience, new hospitality options, how they can use it to get more cost efficient, more premium experience from those kind of platforms.
So our conversation earlier. So at Niger Nomads, we focus, I'm a millennial, so I'm very big on Instagram.
You told me that too.
I'm very big on Instagram. So I started off my business, like I had told you earlier, just by blogging my personal experiences. I absolutely love to travel. Travel is literally in my DNA. So my business is pretty much an offshoot of who I am as a person. So started off as a blog. People loved reading my travel stories. People would share their travel stories with me. I would also post that as well, and then we began to build a community. Went off the blog, went to Instagram. People started to pique interest. Oh, plan a trip to this destination, plan a trip to that destination. We started to plan trips, and all these things we were doing strictly on Instagram. People will pay for these experiences on Instagram, and also because they have seen you experience these places yourself. So I am very big on, I only sell places that I have been to. I don't sell places that I have never been to, because the perspective of a Nigerian traveler is totally different, right? So people see me explore these places coming from Nigeria with a Nigerian passport, and they can see themselves in me, and it makes so much sense. I recently got back from a trip to Japan, Thailand, and Singapore. I took my kids, my entire family, summer holiday. We're away for 5 weeks. It was insane. On my personal page, I don't really post a lot, but I gave myself a challenge. I decided I was going to post every single day on that trip. And the what's this thing called? The response was extremely overwhelming. I got back in September, and today we're still getting visa consultations. We're still getting so many things from the offshoots of that trip. And I was very intentional about the way I captured my story. I just didn't want to do, oh, here are 10 things to do in Japan. No, I'm like, you know what? I want it to be literally like a vlog where people are following my life. So my kids are screaming that they're having jet lag. It's captured there. We are literally going on the streets of Japan, rather, looking for mochi at 4 a.m. in the morning. Is captured there. Because, I mean, Japan sells convenience, right? So they have 247 convenience stores. You can see like 2 kilometers of road, and you're seeing like 10 7-Elevens. Literally, that's how Japan is. And I captured every single thing. You know, Instagram, Japan is a country that is touted to be in 2050, but you have some places where they do not accept card payments. It is literally just cash. It was so shocking to me. So people could experience the culture shock that I was experiencing as well, and they could literally see themselves in me, and they were paying for this consultations, were paying to book experiences to these places. Your question.
No, that was brilliant, because you've talked about how platforms have powered your business. The second part was how could individuals, I mean, listeners and guys online, how could they use platforms to experience new vistas in hospitality?
Yeah, it's pretty much just sharing. No, so how could they experience? How could they experience? Well, but for me, I'm also
a consumer.
A consumer as well. So in as much as I sell products, I'm also a consumer as well. So for me, like Instagram, for example, I use it as a research tool as well for my own experiences, and use it as a research tool for my customers' experiences. I, for example, am a very adventurous traveler. My husband likes shopping. My 3-year-old likes the zoos. And my older daughter likes more interactive type spaces. So I used Instagram, YouTube, TikTok to be able to create our itinerary. You know what I mean? So I created our itinerary just by researching. I'm talking neck deep into research. So I'm talking, I had to consume at least 100 to 150 different types of content to be able to create that wholesome itinerary for my family that will make each and every one of us have an enjoyable trip. I'm talking, we traveled for 5.5 weeks. Wow. So I tell my team that same Vim that you can see the head nomad using to plan her family holiday, that is the same Vim you use to plan your client's family holiday. So, yeah.
I mean, that's a good point to clap now. These people know they clap. Anyway, MJ, I'm going to come to my last question because of the time, and it would be nice for us to take a question or two if there's enough time. But I want to come to payment, because we're mixing it together. I mean, she's talked about a payment experience in Japan, and maybe we have different pressures with payment here. First, disposable income don't disappear. Okay? Secondly, the payment experience is not particularly convenient in this part. And when your payment generates error, you need God and the ancestors to help you. And so my question is, from a payment perspective, how could we make payment easier, better, more convenient? I'm not just talking convenience. I'm talking about the fact that I would like to travel. I mean, I earn only 300K. My disposable income is 50K. I'd like to put 20K together for a while to experience something else. I mean, what are the options out there? Not just from a consumer perspective, but also from a player. What are options that can help us to, because payment is maybe the biggest barrier many Nigerians, not even Nigerians, even businesses. Myself and my co-founder were discussing a problem yesterday, and we said, you know what, if we raise our fund, finish, this problem no going to be a problem again, right? So some of the biggest problems we have is with funds, like we say on the street. So how could payment eliminate, reduce some of these problems, make this lifestyle that we all want a bit more easier to aspire to and achieve? What do you think?
There's a lot of options. There are options out there. I think payment should just not be the only thing you worry about when you're traveling, right? You're talking about planning. But since we're coming back to payment, you have buy now, BNPL, right? Buy now, pay later. You've got credit cards, right? There's a lot of access to credit cards.
In these parts?
Yes.
Okay,
there's
cool.
access to credit card. There's access to targeted loans. So the real issue is, what is the cost at the end of the day, right? So you need to find platforms that allow you view all these options and make the decisions for you. One of the things we've noted on, especially on our platform, what we do is people target different things, right? So they would save 10K here, 5K here, 2K here, right? But at the end of the day, right, people are wanting to go get loans, don't understand there are alternative ways to prove their incomes and what, their credit worthiness, right? Because that's one of the problems that we have here. So if you're going to do all these things, which, people in other climes, that's what they do anyway. Yeah. Holidays are paid for on either credit cards or, they're paid instrumentally, right? Is how do you prove, as a young man trying to travel the world, right? Or even just to Ghana, how do you prove your credit worthiness, right? But what we've done is our platform kind of like opens up the data for people to be able to see, definitely with your consent and stuff like that. But you could see that this guy gets maybe 20K from here, 15K from here. Okay, is the source credible? What is he doing with it? So just to be able to assess the credit worthiness, because in the end, if you don't have the raw cash, you are going to have to
inaccessible.
Exactly.
Maybe my final question, I'm again looking at the time, and like I said, we still want to escape and not overwhelm you, is with respect to partnerships. You both would have noticed that all the question I'm asking is not in the prep we did, so we're just having fun, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. It's in partnership, and I'm saying this from my own experience. I mean, a friend of mine, his wife, she calls me bestie. You know all these funny things we do, so she calls me bestie. She's not my wife, but she's suggesting that we go to Ghana, right? I mean, she's going to go with her husband, I go with my wife, and then we sort of split the bill in a way that makes it affordable. I mean, it's nice on paper. She's just not helping me solve where I'm going to keep my kids. But that's another problem, Now, I know that there are options like this that makes travel not just more affordable, but more attractive. I mean, travels and tours and hospitality is maybe one of the things in our lives that we never want to keep private. I mean, the reason why people go and start snapping is because you don't want to experience it alone. So when you go on travels, you want to document, you want to share with your family. I mean, that's when it makes a lot of sense, not when you are chopping alone, right? And so from a partnership perspective, you want to tell me, who are those kind of partners that helps your business to deliver on some of its promises, and what partnership possibilities are available to the average Nigerian explorer who wants to experience quality hospitality? Because hospitality here with yellow buses is a different problem. In the same breath, I'm asking you the same question, but to say, what partnership possibilities are available in the payment space? I mean, for example, if co-traveling reduces my fee, then it makes it more reasonable for me to want to travel from a payment perspective. So is it possible for a couple of us, say 3 of us, want to travel to the same place? Can we co-contribute? I mean, our mothers, they did a job, they did a lot of this stuff where they co-contributed to make things happen. What are those possibilities in payment that can make travel hospitality much more reasonable? So I'm going to ask you together, and you can take it from your different perspectives.
Okay, so for partnerships, I always say, if you want to go, not I always say, like there's an adage that says, if you want to go fast, you go alone, and then if you want to go far, you go together. For us at Nigerian Nomads, we have identified that there's a trend now with travelers that are coming to West Africa. They're either doing Lagos or Accra and Lagos. We had identified that, and I mean, I'm not very familiar with the Accra market. So instead of me thinking that I can do it on my own, I decided, okay, why not seek fellow travel companies that have the same business ethos, that have the same style as us, and then collaborate with them so that when we have clients that are coming into Lagos and they also want to do the Accra part of it, we have those partners that just collaborate with us, And we are currently doing it for Lagos Fashion Week, we're doing it for ArtX, and of course the famous Dirty December. And it has just made things like so much easier and so much better. Because the truth is, when people come to you, they just want to talk to one point person. And you know how foreigners just feel like Africa is just one big country. So they're like, you're in Lagos, you can figure out Accra. I'm like, oh no, it's so different. You know what I mean? So instead of sending them over, or instead of send them over to like an Accra travel company, you just handle it yourself, and then you just outsource to that Accra travel company, and vice versa. So they also collaborate with us as well in so many ways. In terms of other partnerships that we have done, when we were very big on group trips, so pre-COVID, we used to have scheduled group trips on the calendar, so people would come in, they'll make payments for a particular destination that they were interested in on the calendar. So what we did was we partnered with a lounge at the airport so that our travelers can get to the airport, because what we noticed is a lot of people are late to the airport, they're scrambling and things like that. So just to avoid that, we partnered with a lounge at the airport and gave our travelers free lounge passes. So they can come in an hour or 2 hours earlier, they're sitting there in the lounge rather, having drinks, having chit chat with fellow travelers, and it just made travel like more seamless and just easier for everybody.
Do I get any of this benefit for allowing you to speak so much?
No, you do not.
Okay, Mujib, well, try your own too.
I think she touched on it, and I think the thing is open, honest collaboration amongst the players, right, is key. One of the biggest problems that slowed down fintech from my point of view is that, right, true open collaboration. Now, with that comes, especially when you're talking about
you
travel,
would think that fintech is maybe one industry that is heavily collaborative. You would think.
No, well, now it's getting there, but when we started, everybody was playing a protectionist game where, look, I own the technology, but now technology is everywhere. Can you execute? Can you stand the test of time? But let me come back to that. So now, collaboration means that you need to kind of like figure out a way to co-create platforms for small operators, right? Because again, most of these things we're talking about, you can talk about IATA, for instance, right? If you're talking about flights and the rest of them, right? But we need specialized, co-created platforms for operators, right? Again, everything is all good and dandy until money comes into it, right? So you're talking about creating systems that allow an escrow type of situation, but specific. I mean, if you're doing it for Africa, then specific to Africa. What works in the UK, for the ones that know Jet2 holidays, it won't work here, right? So we need to co-create for small players that works. We're talking about access to credit from the platform, talking about escrow type situations, and then bringing users together in a way where user-curated content is also available. So essentially, let's build a small thing that works in an open, collaborative manner.
That's brilliant. I mean, because of the time, and again, because we want to escape, I'm going to see if we can entertain just one question, enough for us to feel like at least people were listening to us since you refused to clap. So I'm assuming you can hear this in Jesus' name. Any one question for us? Oh, they are clapping. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I think there's a hand. There's a hand somewhere there. I can bring the mic if no one will help me. Okay, there is a mic there.
Okay, my question centers around hospitality as a whole.
Okay.
In Nigeria, we actually are not that informed about how to enjoy ourselves outside our home. We think it has to do with you having big amounts of money or huge amounts of money before you can enjoy yourself. Now, in the advent of technology, more people are getting informed that even with the little that you have, you can enjoy yourself. But what are you doing, or what can be done to ensure that more people get informed and know that even with the little that you have, you can still leave your house or get yourself together to enjoy yourself the way you can?
I mean, I think it's a brilliant question. When you initially said, what are they doing? I was confused myself because I thought I was having the Minister of Tourism. But I'm glad that you asked that. I think our question is more around what more can be done. I think some of what you've said are contextual, but if you want to add any more context, I think it helps. What more can be done to help Nigerians understand that experience, travels, hospitality is not going to take your, we know it takes their money now, but let's act like, just.
So it's pretty much storytelling. So you have to be able to tell good stories. You share them on this various technology platform and just hope that people see these stories. Another way is also we need to collaborate, like the government kind of needs to collaborate with us, because Nigeria, the typical Lagosian doesn't want to leave Lagos for other southwestern states, for example, and there's so much beauty within Nigeria. We're afraid, there's security issues, there's also the road network issues. I wouldn't even put the road network issues as such a big deal. I think security is more of a big deal than anything else, right? Because road networks, for example, on my recent trip that I took in Thailand, I went 2 hours because my kids decided they wanted to feed elephants, right? And where we were staying was 2 hours away from the elephant sanctuary. So we drove 2 hours to somewhere that literally looked like my mom's village. And I'm like, why am I here? You know, I can literally, my mom is Igbo, she's from Ore. So I'm like, I can get this in Ore if we had elephants there. But I felt safe. And we didn't come back until like 8 p.m. at night. My kids didn't feel unsafe. They were all dandy, they were excited and things like that. So I feel like if a security challenge is not addressed and is not worked on, it'll be very difficult for us to explore locally.
Yeah. I mean, that's spot on. If, God forbid, you have contributed on the family WhatsApp group for a family member that has been kidnapped recently, even if there were elephants in Owerri, you won't go.
No, I
so
won't.
God bless you. You want to add any thoughts to that before we leave?
So I kind of have a different take on this.
Okay, please shoot.
And yes, things are dangerous, right? But I tell everybody that wants to hear me, I feel safer in Lagos, right, than I felt when I was in the UK. Now, different strokes for different folks, right? But the question was, what can we do?
What more can be done, eh?
We need to tell the stories differently, right?
Cool.
We need to tell the stories differently. And we need to tell ourselves that sitting in the pub or a club somewhere is not
luxury.
Is not all
Yeah.
of we have to enjoy. Now, what can we do? We have local governments that are supposed to be in charge of these things. So let's leave traveling outside the state for a second, right? There's Oniko Stadium. There's the Moson Center. There's a lot of things around Oniko, right? We need to speak to our councillors, our local government chairman to say, hey, this is getting deteriorated. We need you to do something more. Or, hey, we want to organize X, Y, and Z, right? Not just looking to the federal or the president to do it for us. We need to start changing the conversation. If we don't, right, then nobody's going to do it for us.
That's
right?
true.
Yes, the roads are dangerous, but I mean, there's a young man on Instagram, I think it's Tobe, right?
Yeah, that went
Is literally going round. Yeah, it's literally going round Nigeria, right? That is, to me, that is one-man crusade. We all need to tell that kind of story, and I think things will start getting the way they should.
Yeah, thank you, MJ. I mean, you also, when they said that we must leave, eh? So just before we leave, I think it's important to say that, you know, a lot of the time, part of what I was telling YJ, if you allow me to use that, is that today, there's a world where payment dominates our country, and is not out of place. But if you look at the possibilities and potentials, lifestyle hospitality is maybe 10, 20, 100 times bigger than payment. And so the more we all continue to contribute, talk about some of these things, and pay and experience them, the more we'll be able to get the benefit from it. So thank you for your attention and time. And to MJ and YJ, thank you for your time also. God bless you both. Thank you, guys. They clapped when we were going.
Thank you. You don't want them to stand? Okay, please stand. Thank you, MJ. Thank you, YJ. Thank you, MD, the moderator. Thank you. All right, so we need someone. Yes, Dr. Stanley, please kindly join them.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a round of applause as they're taking their pictures. Now, while we are doing that, we are still in the breakout ensembles. And while they're taking their pictures, I'd like to welcome to get ready to come to the stage next the unit head of assets and liabilities at First Bank. Can we please give a round of applause as he comes to the front, Stephen Olusa.
Thank you.
Is he here? Again, I'll do another call, going once. I would like to welcome again, like I said, we are still in the breakout ensemble and workshops. This is Orchestrating Trust in Nigeria's Fintech Symphony. I'd like to please welcome the unit head of assets and liabilities at First Bank, Stephen Olusa. Going once, going twice, sold. The time has gone. Ladies and gentlemen, now I would also like to welcome to the platform the CEO of PlatView, Dapo Salami. And the tag for his presentation is Orchestrating Trust in Nigeria's Fintech Symphony, the Cyber Shield Advantage.
Changing it. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a great time to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to stand before you. It's my first time mounting this stage at Nigerian Fintech Week, so I want to believe the next 20 minutes will be a great time for us to share as well as learn from one another. So I'll be speaking on the topic, orchestrating trust in Nigeria Fintech Symphony. Okay, cool. So what comes to mind when I got this topic was the fact that we need to understand what orchestration means. Then when it comes to symphony, it's important as well to know what orchestra is, what they play in that part. So bringing this home to Nigerian FinTech, you want to agree with me that for every orchestra, you're going to have an ensemble of musicians playing different kind of instrument. So from the presentation, you can see we have a number of players making sure everything is successful, that at the end of the day, what you get out of the orchestration is good music. So speaking of which, you equally want to bring that back home to Nigeria. As of now, while walking to this stage, I saw quite a number of fintech companies doing wonderful things. As of 2024, there are over 400 fintech companies in Nigeria. I don't know what you are building, and I want to believe that a whole lot of people in this room, you are building wonderful product. So from personal finance to wealth and asset management to crypto, web, buy now, pay later, there's a whole lot that has happened over the years. And what this means is every one of us, we are part of the orchestra. And doing that, we are making sure that we are solving a major problem, which is financial technology, financial inclusion, as well as financial literacy. As of 2025, we've seen enormous growth when it comes to fintech in Nigeria. We have as early as this year, there are over 430 fintech companies in Nigeria, and that is like 50% increase as at the year before. There are quite a number of adoptions that we need to consider, which is access and convenience. Most of us, you will agree with me that it's been a while that you see a queue in a bank branch. It's been a while I went into a branch to carry out transaction. And the reason is we now have mobile apps. We have mobile phones that can easily carry out our transaction. So that cuts the need or take away the need to go into branches, right? Your bank is now a mobile app. And when you do that, all you need to do is to download the app and start using it. So with all of this, it has driven the adoption far more beyond what it used to be. Currently, Africa has the highest number of young people, and with that ratio, with that number, it accounts for the fact that there is a whole lot happening in Africa. So Nigeria being a subject matter in Africa creates a market dominance. So we have, I think, as at the last population, we are about 250 million people. So this could equally account for the market dominance in Nigeria. So in Africa, Nigeria is a powerhouse, and with industry leaders like Moneypoint, Paystack, Palmpay, Paga, Kuda, Lemfi, then I want to believe someone here as well would in no time become an industry leader, right? So we are leading the discussion, we are leading the conversation when it comes to fintech, all right? Talking about trust, this is like the heartbeat of fintech success. And we have some historical challenges that are before us, right? So one of such is the fact that anytime you go into a branch and you're not able to withdraw your money, then your heart starts beating, meaning, is there a problem with this bank? And that way, you want to double check. You have a cousin, you have an uncle, or you have an aunt that works in the bank. You want to double check with them and be sure. Is anything wrong? I don't have problem. I don't have access to my money. What could be wrong? You want to ask questions. Eroded confidence. If you open your app and you're not able to sign in, or you're not able to carry out your debit or credit transaction, it becomes a source of worry. So with that, trust is being eroded gradually, and nobody wants that. NDIC is a challenge. I will not be able to mention names. A bank went under recently, and the next thing was NDIC said, the best coverage you have, regardless your deposit, is how much? 2 million naira. Meaning if you have 20 million, the best you can get out of it is 2 million naira. So all of these are the reasons why fintech is on the rise. Right now, you don't have to go to a bank, and you really don't have to do much to have access to your money. So you just want to make sure that you're banking with the right one. Regulatory landscape, there is no way you would have fintech of up to 500 in a country like Nigeria without the regulator making sure there's a possible and plausible trust framework. So one of such is sandbox license. If you check recently, we have open banking, right? So open banking is one of the ways through which the regulator is trying to drive adoption of fintech. One of such way is to make sure that license is given to people to be able to play in that field. Then the next thing is KYC. Some months back, I think this year, there was some fintech companies that were shut down for registering new customers. Why? Because they do not have strong KYC framework. So this is the part that the regulator has to play to make sure that there is sanity in the industry. Then strict licensing. The entry, there must be a barrier. Not everybody is allowed to play. So if everybody is not allowed to play, the question is, what is required to play? PSP license, MFB license, switching license, and so on and so forth. And the only reason the regulator will do all of this is to make sure that people maintain trust while doing business with fintech. Okay, overcoming trust barriers. We have the human element. How much time did it take you to onboard on OP? For me, it took me a whole lot of time to sign up on OP. And why? At first, it was all right. Then it was all food, I think. Then they got into payment. So the hesitation alone, it's a barrier to say, at what point do I onboard or do I become a customer? Then integrity. How do I make sure that this fintech is the right one for me and my money will not get missing? So the trust must be maintained. They need to show that they can be trusted as a fintech company. The next talent challenge, we've gone past this a number of times. I think last year, 2 years ago, we all went through the Japa syndrome, which necessitated the fact that talent will always go to where they are better appreciated. So when doing that as a fintech company, you need to ensure that you keep your talents. You need to put measures in place to make sure that your talents are well taken care of. And when you do that, you must put transparent communication in place. Why trust matters? I was saying, in business of fintech, the only thing, your primary business is what? Trust. And that is the digital finance. That is the digital currency that you trade with. Without trust, there is no adoption, no growth, no sustainability. So imagine a case where you secure $1 million funding and you're spending 30% of that on marketing. Then people open your app, they are not able to carry out the transaction. So that way, trust is eroded, there is no confidence, and when that happens, it means you are not going to be in business. So trust is the rail that drives fintech. And at every point in time, we want to make sure that trust is maintained as well as sustained. So the challenge. When I started, I talked about symphony, I talked about orchestra, right? The weak note in the symphony is what I have highlighted. There are 4 of them, which is the trust challenge. The first, cybersecurity risk. So when it comes to cybersecurity risk, it could form a major element in how much people trust or how people don't trust your brand or your fintech, right? So when it comes to cybersecurity risk, phishing, hacking, identity theft. So I tell most of my customers these days to say, now, identity is now the new currency. What is your identity as a fintech, and what identity do you have for your customers on your platform? Data breaches, loss of consumer confidence. The moment your news is out there to say you are suffering a breach, the next thing that happens, your customer will start doing what? Withdrawing their money. Because they believe too well, for every reputational damage to your brand as a fintech, you want to make sure that money is secured and equally you secure consumer confidence. Fraud. One of the oldest schemes when it comes to banking, when it comes to fintech, is fraud. A whole lot of people are bleeding. A whole lot of companies are bleeding as a result of fraud. And the most interesting part is the fact that fraud is changing on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. The kind of fraud we dealt with 2 years ago is not the same kind of fraud that we have now. The moment you increase your surface area in terms of customer adoption, the same increase would apply to the fraud that you encounter. So with fraud being obvious in fintech, it's going to erode trust, and that can kill a business. So customer concerns, data privacy, transaction safety. There are concerns now. CBN came up with I think it's NDPA, right? They came up with some regulations to say customer data is confidential. So if you go take money from a platform, a lending platform, and the next thing you don't pay up, and they start sending your pictures on social media and say you are owing them, that is a breach to your privacy, right? So these challenges are there, and they are equally obvious to reasons why adoption will succeed or as well as fail. About CyberShield, which is why I am here. My name is Dr. Salami, and all the challenges that we've been talking about, we are here to restore it, to sustain, and equally maintain those challenges. So CyberShield is a cybersecurity company. We provide managed security services for organizations. It's obvious most fintechs, very few will be as big as First Bank, and very few will be as big as a Zenith or UBA. What it means, these big brands, they have the budget and they have the depth to put security in place. But when it comes to fintech, you are limited in terms of how many people you can recruit or you can maintain on your payroll. Then when it comes to cybersecurity, you want to make sure that as fintech, you focus on your area of expertise. And that is what fintech, not cybersecurity. So with CyberShield, we help fintech sustain trust across board. Then challenges that we help fintech companies solve, lack of skilled technical resources. Like I mentioned, there was a year or two ago where there was jackpot syndrome, people were leaving, nobody was staying, they were going to UK, even Russia, China, right? When people leave, they live with knowledge, they live with skill, they live with domain expertise. So when it comes to cybersecurity, which is the foundation of trust for whatsoever you're building as fintech, you no longer need to be in a position where you worry about who your security people will be or who will help you secure your product. So with CyberShield, we have a pool of people that can help support your services and provide cybersecurity. Then, SOC processes. If you're familiar with fintech and you are licensed, CBN has cybersecurity framework, which specifies that you must do 24/7 monitoring. You must have a SOC. A SOC means Security Operations Center, meaning you are monitoring everything that is happening in your network. So your network this time around is not your physical network. This is your cloud, what you have locally or you have in the cloud. You have to keep monitoring them. Why do you want to do that? CBN will come knocking. There was a fraud in your system. How did it happen? Give an account of how it happened. So when that happens, with a SOC process in place, which comprises people, technology, and processes, you want to show CBN that you did everything that is required of you by law to secure customer data, all right? And that being said, when an incident happens, what do you do as a fintech company? How do you make sure that you restore confidence? So we equally offer incident response service, which means at every point in time, there may be an incident, but when it happens, how do you respond to it? So we provide incident response as well. Our approach, we follow NIST, so which is National Institute of Standards and Technology framework. This is being adopted globally, and it's not just limited to CyberShield. So NIST framework says identify, protect, identify, detect, protect, respond, and recover. One of the things that we tell people is the fact that you cannot protect or defend. Hello? Okay. So you cannot protect or detect what you don't know as an organization. The first thing is, what do you have as a fintech company, right? What are the things that form the pillar of trust in your process? Is it your core banking application? Is it your database? Is it your software services? So once you are able to identify, that will inform your decision in terms of how to detect. Detecting, are there vulnerabilities? Are there backdoors that hackers could take advantage of? Then those tools will give you idea of what needs to be protected, right? So in terms of protection, you put tools in place to do protection. Respond. How do you respond? Is it a ransomware? Is it a malware? Is it an attack that is 0 day? So that is what will determine how you respond. Recover. For every attack, there's a phase where you need to recover. When you recover means you are going from position where you suffer an attack and you are going back to your status quo where you need to be as an organization. So this is our approach that we use in securing and maintaining trust for fintech companies. Mean time to detect and mean time to respond. So most of what we do with CyberShield is the fact that there is a war going on, right? How long does it take you to detect an attack? And how much time does it take you to respond? It's a lot more important to know that you are being attacked, right? You need to know, first of all, and once you know that you are being attacked, then the question now is, detection can kick off. So it's not enough to even know. How long, how many days, is it minutes, or is it hours or months? So from the stats that I have on the screen, which is breach detection duration, containment, as well as resolution. So this specifies or shows on the average, globally, not just Nigeria, not just CyberShield, right? How many days does it take to discover a breach? 51 days. So imagine yourself, you're trying to raise fund, and up to the tune of $1 billion, for instance. If you're trying to do that and you're being attacked and you don't know if it's going to take you 51 days, because most times these attacks are sophisticated, they are persistent. So if it's going to take you 51 days to detect or discover a breach, your business is as good as dead on arrival. All right? And the next is 30% of breaches were discovered within hours. That is with processes and technologies being put in place. 20% of breaches took months or longer to detect. 181 days was the average time to detect a breach. So if you remember my previous slide, mean time to detect and respond. So 181 days is as good as about half a year. That's a long time to detect a breach. So on the average, it's about 277 days on the average for data breach life cycle, which is key and important. And this is our selling point. This is where my business is, to secure you and make sure that you don't take 277 days for a breach to be in your on your network. So why CyberShield and what do we offer? Our services, the first one is 24/7 monitoring and AI-powered threat detection. We're in an era where AI is the buzzword. While I was walking down here, I saw a whole lot around AI. I think I saw some guy, some product, Dyna AI. So what it means, whatever we are doing, AI is now being used. If you are doing KYC, you equally want to do KYC for AI. If you are an agency, you want to onboard AI as part of your staff. So we have companies right now where they have 10 people, human users or employees. They equally have 5 agents. So when you have agents, the same way you do KYC for people, you equally need to do KYC for AI as well. So if your product is AI-based, your attack is going to be AI attack, right? So we offer 24/7 monitoring and AI-powered threat detection. I tell people, you don't go to a gun fight with a knife. So if you want to combat AI attack, cyber attack, you need AI tools to be able to do the same. Then the next, we offer managed detection and response. So with this, as against you having an army of cybersecurity engineers carrying out your detection and response, we can offer it to you as a managed service, meaning you are getting the same service as the big banks that you're competing with or the big brands you're competing with. But this time around, it's for the fraction of the amount. Then threat intelligence and hunting. For every attack, there is usually reconnaissance, people trying to understand, to know what you have, how you do your business, and what kind of processes are in place. Once they can understand you with intelligence, it's a lot easier to attack you because they now know how to navigate through your technologies and processes, right? So with our threat intelligence and hunting services, it's our job to make sure that you know and you're aware that an attack is coming your way and we can stop it for you. This way, you don't only maintain trust, you equally sustain it across your ecosystem. Fraud management, like I mentioned, fraud is important. I think it's one of the oldest Achilles is for most fintech and banking ecosystem. Fraud is not going to end. It's going to keep changing on a daily basis, on a weekly, monthly basis. Now that we have AI products, fraud now is going AI. So most of the fraud that we are seeing now, about 20% are now being carried out by AI tools, meaning it's not going to stop. And if you keep going to a gunfight with a knife, you are never going to win. So with our services around fraud, we can protect your fintech. Vulnerability management and pen testing, this is required by law. You must always have VAPT in place. So with this, we help organizations carry out vulnerabilities, meaning we want to know, we want to scan your ecosystem. Are you vulnerable? What are your vulnerabilities? If we can put a name or we can put category to it, it's a lot easier to secure you with that, and we can equally help you remediate. Compliance and audit support. If you are in this space of fintech, it's no news that you must comply with the regulatory framework. You have NDPA, you have CBN. With CBN, we have quite a number, which is PCI, ISO, and so on and so forth, depending on what you do. So why would you want to do all of this? You need to put the checkbox in place to say, I did this as required by law, once every 6 months or once every year. So we can help you achieve that as well. Incident response and forensic, which I mentioned earlier, this is important. Whenever you have an attack, who do you call or where do you go? And who helps you recover and restore your services to status quo? So with incident response and forensic, we help fintech as well as businesses that are into financial, or that are into banking to secure their system. Our approach is pretty much straightforward. I've explained all of this. AI tool for AI attack. When it comes to intelligence, it's required as well. We stay in front, making sure that we know what is coming your way before it gets to you. And you must have heard a whole lot of other big brands saying they have SOC, they have a SOC, they have a SOC. Then it's mandated by CBN that you must have a SOC. We've seen a trend currently where the big banks, they are becoming a lot more difficult for hackers to take advantage of. And what it means is the kind of attack we are seeing with the big banks, they're not going to fintech companies, they're not going to microfinance banks. So your size does not equally limit you in terms of how you protect yourself. So we can extend the same value proposition that we are giving to big banks, to fintech companies, MFBs, just for you to maintain and sustain trust across your ecosystem. So we have quite a number of tools that we use for that. For threat intelligence, we have Reconex, which is used for checking and predicting the kind of threats coming your way. Then you being able to know if any of your executives have been taken advantage of, if I Google most CEOs, then I found out that each person will have more than one profile on LinkedIn, on Facebook. There are people cloning profile just to be able to carry out fraud or brand abuse as well. So with Reconex, we provide brand protection, executive monitoring, digital asset management. How many IPs do you have as a fintech? Most people don't know, right? If you don't do what is required in terms of inventory, how many IPs are in use, how many are active, or how many are dormant. So with Reconex, we can help organizations carry out threat intelligence and brand protection. So EDR is essential no matter how many people you have working for you. With fintech, what we see the trend, people don't come into office, they work from home or they work from anywhere in the world. So with this, what we find out is to every human user, there is an endpoint. At the minimum or on the average, 2 to 3. Endpoint is a laptop, it's your mobile phone, your IoT devices, as long as you use them to interact with the organization. So we protect endpoints across board, regardless what name you call them. We equally have, this is our symphony, right? This is where we tie everything together. For every attack or for every incident, we have a fusion desk where you can do case management, you can do incident management to know how many attacks the last 1 month, how many have been resolved. In terms of category or priority, you want to see how many are high risk, then how many are medium. So with fusion desk, you can carry everybody along and let them know that you don't have any critical alerts. Managed services, like I mentioned earlier, this is a fraction of what you get. You pay a fraction of the service as against building a SOC for yourself or having to build a whole stack of cybersecurity team for yourself. So we become an extension of your business and we provide what is required to make sure that your system, your company, organization sustains trust. So incident response, we've explained before now. I can see on the screen my time is up for some time now, right? This is about all that we do. For every orchestra, for every symphony that is being played, there is usually, or there must be, a conductor. And in summary, and to close out on my presentation, the only conductor for orchestra is trust. As fintech, it is important that you put the sustenance and the maintenance of trust first, because that is the only conductor, that is the only thing that shows you're serious and you're ready to do business. Doing that, transparency must be nurtured, reliability must be prioritized, then education to reduce skill gap, there must be continuous education across your team. Thank you very much.
Can we give him another round of applause? Ladies and gentlemen, are we having a good time? This is the place to be. You are in Lagos, Nigeria, and you are at Nigeria FinTech Week 2025. So very quickly, I'm seeing a lot of new faces, which I am very excited about. So if you are just coming into the hall, I want you to just take a look at your neighbor and say hi to your neighbor, introduce yourself, and then we will get into the crescendo of the day.
Yes. Have you said hi to your neighbor? Fantastic. All right, we understand that everyone is in the hall, and it's beautiful to see everyone in the hall now. And we trust that you had an impactful breakout session. Yes? Was it impactful? Have we learned a lot? Nobody is responding on this side. What's happening? Did we learn a lot from our breakout session? Fantastic. On this side, did we learn a lot from our breakout sessions? Great. That means we are in sync, and what we're doing here today is not a waste. So very quickly, we're going into the last panel session for today.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, these are the breakout ensembles. You are at the Maestro Hall, like Victory has said. This session is called the Youth Showcase. It's actually a mashup of multiple sessions, so you can definitely expect to find thought-provoking conversations, questions, and an opportunity to take in and soak in and allow great minds to pour into you. So like Victory said, this is a very interesting one. Like I said, it is a mashup of 2 sessions. This one is tagged dating. How many of you guys are single? Nobody wants
You're
to
shaking
answer.
your head. Are you married? I can't see any ring.
All right.
All right, but we know that most people here are single and in the market.
Or somewhat ready to mingle.
You know.
I'm not sure. But yes, like I said, this one is tagged dating, from likes to livelihood, turning digital presence into wealth for Nigeria's youth.
All right, on this panel, would have amazing panelists. And I understand that some people came in because of this panel, and we are ready for you as well. This panel will be moderated by Uchechi Ugwehi Daniel, the media strategist and consultant. Please, a round of applause for Uchechi Ugwehi Daniel as she comes up stage. Now, she will be joined by the CEO Microfundery, Darlington Onyagoro. A round of applause.
And as Darlington makes his way to the stage, I would like to invite the co-founder of Rise Vest, Tony Odiba.
Okay. Would also like to join them upstage, the head of product, Bamboo, George Imodeme. And we also have joining them the head of sales and business development, Park First Group and the Park Pay Technologies, Mr. Chukwudifu Ugu.
And just before we call up our next set of speakers, this side is Digital First, Wealth Next. So this conversation is going to be filled with empowering Nigeria's youth with smart investment tools, monetizing digital presence through social fintech tools, and of course, safe and smart digital dating in a cashless world. Can we give them a round of applause?
We have one more person joining this panel when we're talking digital first, wealth next. Please join me welcome Yarens Abraham, the founder and CEO, MedArt Africa. Yes. All right, like we said earlier, it's a mashup. And we're talking about dating. So everyone has a say. We have men on this panel. And it's interesting. All right, join me welcome our next moderator for this panel, Joba Adejumo, the Chief Innovation Officer of Apollo Global Innovation. We have Mr. Joba here.
All right, as Joba comes up, or we attempt to find him, can we please bring to the floor the founding partner of Lofty Inc. Capital Management, Idris Bello.
We also have joining them the independent finance consultant, portfolio CFO, and angel investor, Mariam Abdurrahman. Please, a round of applause for Mariam.
Last but not least, we've got the board director at Velcap Africa, Philip Sonibare.
A round of applause for all our panelists and moderators. This is going to be quite interesting.
Yes.
We're looking at how technology has influenced dating and even helped dating as well. There are many dating sites and apps now.
Are you on Tinder?
I'm excited for this conversation. Please, another round of applause as we leave the stage for the moderator. We're not clapping, are we? Clap, clap,
Can we
clap,
give them
clap,
a round of
clap.
applause?
Thank you. That's better.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm thrilled to welcome you to the most exciting part of today. And like our MC has said, this is a very critical conversation when we talk about from likes to livelihood. And when we say likes, we know what we mean. Instagram likes, TikTok likes, all the likes of all the social media platforms that exists today. And we need to know how to turn digital presence into wealth for Nigeria's youth. Money has to be made. Either way, you're catching fun, you're having fun, but you need to make money. And then the good news is that the digital economy offers a clear path for us to achieve this. Very wonderful. Now, before we get to hear from our speakers, I would like us to listen and have at the back of our mind these few facts I'm about to drop. Now, the nation has a median age of just 16.9 years. Now, over 70% of our population today are under the age of 30. We're talking about young people, over 70%. Now, the official youth unemployment rate was 6.5% by NBS Q2 2024. That's a lot of unemployed people who have taken to their devices, who have taken to technology to convert likes to livelihood. And then also the ICT sector contributed about 20% to Nigeria's real GDP, same Q2 2024. The creative economy contributes and is valued at $5.6 billion and is projected to reach $20 billion by 2027. Imagine sharing $20 billion among the youth population by 2027. We'll all be smiling to the banks. And then the African creator economy was valued at $3.08 billion in 2023. And all this driven by young creators aged 18 to 34. That's a large population. And today we need to find out from our speakers, from our professionals here. We have assembled a phenomenal group of experts, and we need to know what are the building tools and the strategies that we young people need to turn this digital promise into a financial reality. It is one thing to have ideas. It is one thing to bring out the ideas. You're looking at it, you film, you record, and you post it. And then there's another thing to, after posting, you go back home or you go back to your bed hungry. And it happens day after day, night after night, and the circle continues. And they're not smiling to the bank. You are borrowing data from MTN. You are borrowing money from daddy and mommy to buy. Come on. This is the panel that needs to quench that and stop it in our generation. And then we're going to start with Yerins. Yerins. Okay, Yerins. Okay, sorry about that. So we're going to start with Yerins. I'm going to ask Yerins, how can digital presence be leveraged for creative industries like art, fashion, and entertainment, especially taking into context creation, content creation, spanning these industries and making waves?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Yerins Abraham, and yeah, let me just get straight to answering your question. From my experience, the digital space can be a little bit tricky because you have to fight with your ego of your own person and also the people or the audience or people viewing you. So there are some times that some people think so much about themselves or too much about themselves, and then it affects their approach to the rest of the public. So I think one of the main things that everyone should watch out for, the best way to leverage the digital presence is understanding or viewing the internet as a portfolio of yourself. It's very important that, when you see it as a portfolio, whether you're doing art or you're doing fashion, if you have, let's say you have your CV, you don't care how many people view your CV as long as the right people view your CV. So let's say in a year you have 10 people viewing your CV. In fact, it's not something that comes to your mind. But when it's now in social media and you're doing maybe art and you see it like, oh, if more people see it, that's only when, it holds value. But no, if you see it as your portfolio, you'll make sure, just like the way CVs are, you'll make sure that its content is good. Maybe your art, your fashion, or whatever technology you're building, you make sure that its content is good and you build your portfolio around that. So, just see it as, don't think too much about, the following around or the likes it gets and all. Concentrate more on the quality rather than the quantity. And then one more thing is, narrow down your niche. It's very, very important. I think just like every human thumbprint is different, every human has his own unique niche or his own unique approach, because our environment, our society, our experience are different. We can look at one thing and see it in a different way. So use that, reflect how you view the world to the rest of the public, and your uniqueness will, talk for itself. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Yerins. And Yerins just let us in the information that your portfolio these days is outside your clear file. How many of us remember clear file? When you're looking for a job that year, you carry the clear file and put in all the papers and all the certificates you've acquired. These days, well, if you don't have digital presence, it seems like your CV is not complete. And that takes us to our next question for Darlington. We need to ask you, so you can help us, shed more light. Why is digital presence the new CV for Nigerian youth today?
Okay. Hello, my name is Darlington. I'd like to give you a practical example. I mean, when I got the job I got with OPay, I was working in a microfinance bank, and I never applied for that job. That was when OPay came into Nigeria with $100 million, and the Chinese guys didn't know what to do, and they were trying to recruit some of us as Nigerian directors. I just got a call from one guy in South Africa and said, would you like to work with Opera in Norway? And I said, I never applied for the job, and imagine somebody earning some certain amount of money and they're not calling dollars. And I was like, the guy said, how much do you want to earn? I was thinking that the money I called was very big. When I mentioned it in dollars, he said, that's done. And that was so, but what I'm trying to point is that I never submitted a physical CV. I mean, they found me, they headhunted me from LinkedIn. They saw my profile, and maybe by the grace of God, they liked my profile. They called me, and I got the job. So the point I'm making is that the era of physical CVs are over. So your portfolio is actually your digital presence. And I keep telling people, keep fine-tuning it. In fact, I learned that thing from one of my colleagues in a microfinance bank. The guy was telling me that every 2 weeks he was getting called to move from this microfinance bank to different jobs. Banks were calling him. So I said, can I see your LinkedIn profile? He showed me. By the time I saw his LinkedIn profile, I copied it. I just copied everything. When I say copy, means I took the same format. Because his own was much more, more robust than my own. Mine was scanty. And I realized why people were calling him. So same thing too. Your Instagram profile, your X profile, your LinkedIn profile, and the communities that you belong to matters a lot. And sometimes I tell people, also be very careful what you post on your profile. If you are too religious, sometimes keep your religiosity and a little bit away from your profile. Or if you are a political extremist, keep all your political convictions somewhere else, because people are going to check you out before they give you a job. So today we're moving away from paper CVs to digital CVs. Thank you very much. Let me stop there.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. So I will just do a quick reintroduction of our own panel. Now, this is where we come in, right? So the topic of our session is from idea to MVP, rethinking pre-seed and seed funding in a cautious market. And very interestingly, of course, we have the one and only Idris Bello. If you don't know Idris Bello and you are in the startup ecosystem, I'm wondering what you know. And of course, we have Miriam here and Philip joining us virtually. So I believe it's no longer news that in the last few years, the funding climate has been quite cold, right? Startups have had to prove a lot more before they can receive funding. So that's a lot of things we're going to be talking about. And I will be starting with Idris. So now, Lofty Inc. just closed the $43 million fund, and the fund, of course, included international LPs. So from your vantage, from your own point of view, what are early-stage investors prioritizing in 2025? Is it, is it traction? Is it team? Or is it technology?
Thank you very much. All right, it's a pleasure to be here. And this is the first time I'm in a two-in-one panel. So there's always a first time, right? And just a disclaimer, like I said, Lofty Inc. raised $45 billion, not me. So just being clear. LIRS, FIRS, it's not me. So to your question about what are investors prioritizing, is it team, is it tech, is it traction? I think it's what I would call traction of thoughts and traction of users. And what I mean by that is investors are looking at how deeply do you understand your consumers, your customers, and how attractive is your offering to those customers. Do you have people who are willing and interested in using what you have produced? So when at Lofty in Capital, when we look at those three things, tech, team, traction, the way we resolve it is we say tech is an enabler. It's not your moat. It's an enabler. And a lot of people forget that. They fall so much in love with their tech, right? Tech is simply an enabler. It's not a moat. Then your team is the engine, right, that drives that. But traction is the truth, right? At the end of the day, it's what actually shows that you have something that people want to buy. And that's the simple way that we look at it. Yeah. Okay, since it's busy, I'll continue. So again, at the end of the day, it's about no matter how early you are, if you're able to show that the customer love for what you're building, right, you will find the right funding, the right investors. And so the key thing is about obsessing about customer adoption, right? And if you're able to do that and build a team around that, then you show traction and you'll be fine. And tech just enables you at the end of the day.
Amazing. I mean, I like what you said, as with tech being an enabler, right? The team being the engine, and of course, traction being the truth. And I'd really love for startups here in the room to really note all of these things down. Your tech is only an enabler, never a moat, really. I found startups who are saying that, who have said rather, that because they are technology enabled, that's their differentiator. Of course, everyone has tech. Everyone even has AI now. You can build anything you want to build without, having to do much. But, just to ask as a follow-up, right, how do global LPs, now those are your own investors, how do they view the pre-seed and the seed market in Africa, right? Of course, I'm sure it took a lot of convincing, a lot of, here and there lobbying to raise the fund. How do they consider pre-seed and seed investing in Africa?
So we're lucky. So for those who, Lofty Capital is an early stage VC firm. We're in our third fund. We are privileged to have institutional investors, sovereigns from Nigeria, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Dubai, and IFC, FMO, Popako, and a host of others, right? And so when they look at investing in Africa, I think what they see is they see the variance in opportunity and also risk, right? So they see the potential that's there. And even though later stage opportunities are more predictable, they understand that where you find alpha, where you find the highest outcomes are in the early stage. But the way you do it is by backing disciplined founders. And so if you're a global LP looking to invest, you look for VCs who have boots on the ground and not fly-by-night VCs or what we call tourist VCs, right? Who just pop in and pop out. So boots on the ground, who are disciplined, who bring in governance, who bring in structure, who can really drive growth, right? And that's really who you back. And I think that's the way we see, that's why we have those LPs backing us, because they understand the opportunity, but they realize they can't do it themselves, so they need trusted players on the ground who can do it. And if you do that well and find disciplined founders, I think the outcomes are going to be great.
Amazing. I'll just go quickly to Philip. Philip is joining us virtually. Just to be sure, are you with us, Philip? So we can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now. We can hear you. Awesome.
Sounds good.
Great. So, of course, Philip, you're a board director at VelCap, right? So from your own perspective, how are investors balancing the whole idea of caution, right? And also with the need to take that risk to, still back bold ideas? Because it's a balance. What's it looking like from your perspective?
Okay, you're right to call it a balance. I think I look more at it as being more positive than negative. has been more precision-like. So the way investors are looking at it right now is that, can I put that fund of mine in a sector, in a business that can generate money at the end of it, that can generate profits at the end of the day? So gone are those days when you just want to put fund just because there's a dream. So right now, what investors are asking, the questions that are being asked in the board is that, okay, it's good to have that dream, but what happens when you have nightmares going on in your dream? How well are you going to be able to combat this? How well are you ready? So they're looking at economics. They're looking at results. They're looking at revenue. They're looking at a whole lot of things on how they're asking very difficult questions. If I give you this $1, how far can it take you? If you run into a whirlwind, what will you do with it? How will you cope? So there are fundamentals being asked. So if you ask me, it's not more of caution that leads to stagnancy. It's more of precision. Invest in opportunities that can grow, that can deliver the results, both for all stakeholders, not just for the investor, even for you as funders. So those are fundamental questions that are being asked.
Thank you very much. Today is a day, or this panel session is one that has a lot of dollars flying around. We are all trying to earn or invest in dollars. Amazing. Now, picking from where we stopped, and Darlington said we need to use our digital presence as our new CV, as young people, as creators. And now to you, Tony Odiba. How can young people turn social media influence into sustainable incomes? Just before you speak, let's also remember that not everybody that has a CV, hard copy, gets a good paying job. So now we need to know that if you're not telling us to throw away the CVs that are not giving us the good paying jobs, this digital presence, how do we turn it into income?
Okay, so digital presence is good, right? But for sustainable income, what you actually need to offer is real value. Now, what I see is that a lot of people see their digital presence or their social media influence as the mental model they usually have is that they are digital landlords. So what they're doing is that they're renting access to their audience to people to, sell some good or service. But I feel like they need to have a mental model shift. How you should be thinking is, how can I be a digital asset owner? What that means is, are they goods and service that I can actually sell to people, right? Now, if you have digital or social media presence, what you actually have is distribution. Anybody that's built anything worth value will tell you that distribution is just as important as having the right product, right? You need to have good distribution. Now, you can leverage that distribution for yourself by, using or creating those digital assets that I mentioned, right? Courses, ebooks, even a community that you nurture and then, that's around your sphere of influence, and maybe sell weekly newsletters to people that are interested in what you're doing, right? Or another thing you can actually do is partner with someone. There are people that are creating products around your sphere of influence that are in the nascent stage that might not have figured out distribution. So if you partner with them, you can then, in tandem, create something that you can then grow, and when it starts generating revenue, you guys can split it and earn some income from there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Tony. An amazing one. And this discussion it's graduating. You've told us that it's important to have digital presence. They told us we can now use it as our CV. We can use it to make money. Now, the important part is one thing to make money, and is one thing to still go broke. You can make money, and the money would definitely not multiply. And this is where you come in, George, head of product Bamboo. Since digital creators have fluctuating pay, like I'm a creator, and if you have creators in the house, you can agree to disagree, but I think you would agree with me that it doesn't pay every time. So some months are very, lucrative, and some other months are not, which means it's fluctuating. So when we have this kind of seasons, what simplified educational tracks and targeted investment products can Bamboo offer to help creators confidently manage and grow their high growth but volatile earnings. Let's take note of that word, volatile.
Yeah, thank you so much, Uchechi, for having me on the panel. I think that if you really take a look at the bamboo product at its core, it was designed for this segment primarily. And this is why I would say so. So we started out by supporting US stocks. And we're one of the very first to have support for notional orders. What that means is you can buy shares in fractions. So if you look at what you have today in the local stock market, you can only buy like whole shares. So if I wanted to buy MTN, I can buy like 2 units, 3 units, but I can't just come and say, what I have is 50,000. Give me 50,000 naira worth of it, which could end up being fractions. So you see that we sort of like designed the product from the beginning, you know, keeping in mind that we're going to run into situations like this, right, where people would end up. So bringing this back to your question, the point is that with bamboo, what you need to do, especially if you have like undulating income, is just to say to yourself what percentage of your income you want to commit to investing. And not necessarily, you know, have some sort of like a threshold that you must hit before you can invest. So if you wanted to be able to buy maybe 1,000 units, for example, I give a practical example. So Netflix today is about $1,000, maybe $100 per unit. And let's say you are a creator, last month you earned $5,000. So you could put aside maybe like $1,000 for investing. But this month that dips to 500. All you simply have to do is tell yourself, I want to put aside 20% of my earnings every month. So if it drops from 5,000 to 500, you are still able to buy Netflix for $100 on bamboo. So these are like some of the things that we've put in place to be able to support, you know, this kind of like demographic. And I think that is very important. And then when you also, you know, look at some other tools that we have, for example, like talking about maybe like DCA, which is like dollar cost averaging. I think it's also like a very powerful tool that, you know, creatives can be able to consider, because what it does is you don't have to do all the complex maths of when do I get into the market, when do I come out of the market. What you do is you just set it. There's a consistent redeem and say at XYZ interval, I want to be able to buy, you know, like certain shares and grow your portfolio and build wealth. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, George. And like I said, I'll keep saying we are graduating. So now we have learned how to invest our fluctuating income and then to help us not to go broke. So once we are not broke, we can now start dating. And this comes to Mr. Chukwudifu. How can digital dating and fintech intersect safely in a cashless, trust-driven world?
Hello? I'm sorry, the question again.
We have come to the dating part. We've made money, we've invested. Now we need to get girlfriends and boyfriends and life partners. Okay, so how can digital dating and fintech intersect safely in a trust-driven, cashless world?
Okay, trust is the bridge between fintech and digital dating, right? So I would say digital identity and verification. We know that fintech and digital dating both face identity fraud challenges. So using tools like KYC, biometrics, digital ID, it can help bring about trust across both platforms and help verify users of those platforms.
Okay, thank you very much. We've headed from the first round of questions from our side of the panel, so over to you now.
Awesome, thank you so much. So at this point, we'll be going back into the conversation around idea to MVP. And we'll be focusing more around the founder part of it, and I will start with Miriam, who is an independent finance consultant, and of course also a portfolio CFO and angel investor. So yes, Miriam, as someone who supports founders with fundraising strategies, what financial or operational signals indicate an investor-ready startup?
Thank you for your question. So I think the financial signals that would signal an investor-ready startup would be, I mean, there are a few, but I'd start with, first of all, the startup perhaps having run a pilot and has been able to find customers that are willing to pay for the product, right? So proof of a revenue stream. So that would be the first one. I think, secondly, the sort of signal that an investor would be looking at is to ensure that the unit economics of the business are strong, right? Unit economics could be represented with strong KPIs like your customer acquisition cost, the lifetime value that the customer is going to be bringing into the business, and also cohort retention, right? So I would say that would be the second. And then I would say it would be good also, I mean, there's so many, but I'll just speak to three. I would also say that showing that you have a plan as it relates to your monthly burn and your runway, right? So how much are you expecting to, how much cash are you expecting to burn on a monthly basis? How long is your to take you in order for you to meet the next milestone, right? So, and then in addition, I think they would also want to see use of funds, like how are the funds being allocated across, say, building out your MVP, your go-to-market strategy, compliance, and the like. So that speaks to the financial signals. Then for the operational signals, again, I would say I'll just speak to three as well. Customer acquisition channels are a big one. Are you able to hone down, 2 or 3 channels, maybe agents or merchants that can help you scale your product? Then I would say another one would be your operational and compliance procedures, your KYC. Can you automate that, or can you delegate it to a partner? Because you're looking at scale, right? So as you scale, how is your infrastructure going to be able to support your business? And then again, I would say the third one, which is a very important one as well, is what sort of compliance roadmap do you have, right? You need licenses from regulatory authorities. You need to partner with, I would say, you need to partner with other institutions like banks, telcos, maybe integrate with a sort of a payroll platform in order to create that multiplier effect, right, for your business to scale. So I'll stop there.
Awesome. So speaking about, because now we're really talking about how founders can really secure funding, right, from the idea stage all the way down to MVP. And of course, from my experience, you find founders on a daily basis that, of course, do have MVPs, and they have all these things that you've mentioned, the operational, they've ticked all the boxes, right? But there's still something that might potentially put them in a position where, of course, they might not be able to raise funding, right? So to help the founders in the room, I think it would be good to sort of give red flags, right? Give ideas, rather, an idea of the red flags that an investor would typically be looking out for when they are at the MVP stage, right? Now, you've spoken about operational side of things and also the financial part of things as well. So imagine I have ticked all those boxes, right? From an investor perspective, what are the red flags that will make an investor want to walk away from potentially investing in a startup who is at MVP stage?
So that's a very good question, and ironically, there are some of the signals that I spoke to earlier. So a red flag would be before you approach an investor to say, hey, look, I have this amazing MVP, and I think you should invest in my business. An investor will be like, okay, let's let's see what you have, right? And then the next question will be, have you run a pilot? Do you have customers that are willing to pay for your product, right? Or you may have run a pilot and you have customers, but is that being monetized? Are you able to actually convert them exactly? So that would be a red flag. Another one would be, I would say, even the coming back again, it's, like I said, I think it's pretty much the same thing as the signals, right? So if an investor was to stress test your unit economics, can the figures, even if your business is unprofitable in the beginning, right? And if it was to be stress tested, would you be able to see that your gross margin ends up being positive? And then coming back also to the compliance side of things, right? What have you made any engagements, right? Have you signed any contracts with any potential partners? So I think that they're pretty much the same, the same things. Yeah.
Okay, let's go quickly to Idris. Of course, it's not news that Lofty Inc. has backed maybe around 100 startups or even more, right? And now we're talking about how to scale from idea to MVP. And in a market that is quite strict, or where funding is very tight, I don't know, with the 100 startups that you've encountered in your experience, can you share any story of a founder who creatively was able to bootstrap from idea to MVP?
Thank you. Yeah, so over the past 10 years, we have backed actually about 180 startups. Some of the well-known ones are Andela, Flutterwave, Move, Reliance Health, Terragon, and Wave, and the list goes on. So we've been privileged to get a lot of data across different countries and different stages. And before I give you a single example, I think there are a couple of things that we see that differentiate founders who have the grit to be able to build, right, even without funding. And I think for us, it's a focus on the problem versus focusing on the product. It's falling in love with the problem versus falling in love with the product. Because problems don't pivot. Products pivot. And I'll give a very quick example before I answer the specific question. So we're in Lagos. Let's say you have a rat infestation. So if you come to me as a founder and you say, I have a product that solves, I'm building a nice mouse trap, I probably will not give you my attention. But if you come to me and say, I am solving the problem of mice infestation, you have my attention. And you could say, what's the difference? If what you are building is a mouse trap, if your mouse trap does not sell, then you are done. If you understand that your problem is mice infestation, you might try a mouse trap and it doesn't work. Then you do sole. You know what they call sole in traffic, right? It doesn't work. You probably then put a vote stick on the ground, gum on the ground. You put poison on the ground. It doesn't work. Maybe you call the Pied Piper to sing them out of town. Or you call Thai currency to come and sing We're Laughing We're, right? To get them out of town, right? So you do different things. You are very innovative because you understand the problem. And so one of the startups we had was a company called Fuel Metrics that was solving the challenge in the downstream, in petrol stations, of tracking how much fuel is bought, how much is sold, right? And ensuring that drivers are not being ripped off by the gas stations. And when they had a very deep understanding of the problem, the first couple of years, they were solving it almost with spreadsheets, right? And they were not focused on fancy tech. But they got over 1,000 stations signed up. And they were using those things. And over time, they then built a solution. And then they then raised seed capital. Till date, they've only raised about $1.2 million over the past 10 years. And they're profitable. You won't hear their names. You won't see them on panels. But they are serving it. If you go to any Rano station, any MRS station, if you go to any Adova station, the technology is being used today. And they have only raised very small capital. On the other hand, there are folks who are on every panel, HBS, LinkedIn founder, co-founder, winning every hackathon and award, and there's nothing to write home about. And that's the difference.
I think it would be good to understand then, how do you, right, as a venture capital investor, how do you identify those kind of founders? I know you've said that focusing on the problem and not the product itself. But are there any other, signals? That
Yeah, I'll make it very simple because of time. So the first thing I like to tell our founders this. Focus is not just about what you say yes to, it's also about what you say no to. And no amount of hocus pocus can take the place of focus. Sounds very funny, but you can go look it up. I bet it's correct English, right? So no amount of hocus pocus can take the place of focus, right? So it's about customer obsession, right? If you should spend more time talking with your customers than with investors. People are chasing me about. Go and talk to your customers. If you have customers, I will chase you, right? So customer obsession is very key. Clarity of focus is very key. Capital efficiency. Can you turn $1 to $3? I'm going to tell stories. If you can do those well, it is we investors that will be chasing you. But a lot of founders are doing the other one because you don't have traction, you don't have customers. You must be able to show me that there's someone who is willing to sacrifice their naira for your product, or their time, or their trust. It might not even be paid customers. But if people are crazy about what you are to stop, we the investors will chase you. So if there's anything you take from here, as a founder, go and obsess about your customers. If you're obsessed with your customers and they validate you, we will chase you. You don't need the capital validation. I know it's nice to go on TechCrunch and TechCrunch and announce, but those things don't validate you. It's your customers that validate you. If you have those things, we will chase you down, and that's all you need.
What you said is very, very, very key, right, for founders to understand. Obsession about the product, about the problem rather, and about the customers as well. I think those two things, obsession, and you find so many founders just always all over the place about whatever it is they're building. I've done this, I've used AI, I've done that, So just before we hand over to the next panel, one question quickly to Philip. Is Philip still with us, just to be sure? Is Philip online?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. So I want to talk quickly about alternative capital pathways, right? We are aware, of course, of how VC funding is so hard right now to raise VC funding, right? And of course, not every startup, or not every business rather is venture backable, meaning that you might be running a particular business that is doing well, but you might not be able to raise venture capital funding, right? So I think it would be good to understand from your perspective, where do you see grants, and or how do you see grants rather, and non-traditional venture capital playing a role for founders in 2025 and 2026 going on?
Thank you so much for your question. So you refer to it as alternative. I don't think they are alternative any longer. If you ask me, they've become part of the mainstay right now. A situation where you have had VC dropping the volume of the business they do with us by as much as 40%, and they are not looking at that growth agenda anymore. They are focused on profitability. So what happens when you are in sectors that are not going to deliver that profit immediately for you? So now let me go back to your questions to say that the role of grants, it's no longer the role of FDI. It's no longer that of alternative. It mainstay. You must just consider it. Yes, there are issues around it. There are the fact that you want that money you want that fund in 6 weeks or 8 weeks. With DFI or grants, you don't have that. You could take a bit longer, yes. And those guys feel that, okay, if in the past it takes 12 months, today it takes 3 months, 6 months, or thereabouts. To them, they're doing very well. To you, you want it faster. However, you must plan ahead for it. You need to tell yourself that, okay, if I must go for grant, if I must go for DFI, I need to quickly start the process because it could take time. These are institutional money. So, so there are institutional processes, there are institutional bureaucracy here. So it's not just an option anymore. Sorry, it's not just an alternative. It's part of the hybrid that founders must put into whatever they do right now. It must come as part of what you are looking at. And it's always better to have combination of all of these funds instead of focusing on one. So yes, it's there as mainstay, and it will continue to there as mainstay. Whatever the challenge that you may have in terms of speed, it's always a good place to be. If the VC put a lot of support, investors put a lot of support on fintech and such things, what happens when you are in ed sector, where you are in, the focus is climate, where people will not likely want to put their money easily. So you must know that grants FDI, plays a very significant role here.
Okay, thank you for that amazing session. While speaking, Tony, as you were speaking on how creators today can convert their content to wealth, money, monthly income, and the aspect of authenticity for young content creators cannot be overemphasized. And to you, Yeren, this is your question. What role does authenticity play in turning influence into sustainable income?
Recording in progress.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just give a brief observation or maybe a story. When I was growing up, I'm a millennial, so when we grew up, we watched TV a lot, and we saw this very curated, performative type of presentation or broadcast to us. So when we hear the news or when we hear about stories or jokes, comedy, and all that, it's always very curated. And when the social media or the digital age came, you see people on social media and their respective platforms. When we started seeing people be themselves, there was this connection we had. There's this like, it's normal, like we are watching TV. It's more like we are seeing the person in front of us. And that built a level of trust that people did not even anticipate. So yes, to your question, I think the main thing is being yourself and making sure that people trust you while being yourself. And the truth is, like, you can be anything. I won't say you should be like bad, but like you can just be yourself. Let your life, let what you've been through, let that show. And you will be surprised that you will have a community of people who relate to your uniqueness. And that is the main thing concerning authenticity. It's just you being yourself, and you growing. It always grows followers to community, always. And yeah, it was every time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Yeren. To shed more light on that, Tony mentioned other avenues for creators to make money, and he said you can partner with brands. And I know definitely that that's an aspect rather that authenticity needs to come out more, especially in our age and time today. We have creators who are representing brands that either they don't use or they don't even trust the product that's in the market at that time. But because it is monetized, because they get paid to film that ad and post it, they just do it. And in the long run, there's this saying that the internet never forgets. This industry we are in and we're making money in, you take one wrong step and your career that you'd probably resigned from your place of work and threw your job at your employer because you felt you've hit the big pot. You'll go back to that job definitely, because once you take one wrong step, your entire career that you have built on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, just comes crumbling down. And that's the role, one of the roles that I believe that authenticity, comes out to play. If as creators out there, you have to resonate with whatever you put out there, as long as it is you and it carries your face, it carries your name, it carries your designation. Don't just do it because, yes, we're talking about you turning it into wealth, but then allow the wealth last. Let joy come in the morning. Don't just do it, get the money that time, and then the following day, you're in tears. And now this brings us to Mr. George. Mr. George, now that we have talked about turning these things into wealth, what do you suggest young creators, either delve into to sustain this wealth that has now been created?
Are you sure you were?
Okay, sorry, Mr. Darlington. I was looking at him. Mr. Darlington, please, that's your question. Okay, so after turning into wealth, how do we sustain the wealth? That's like some.
Okay, thank you. One of the ways to sustain wealth is to codify your skill, all right? Codify your skill or your talent. Likes does not pay rent. If you have 1,000 likes, your landlord will still come and knock on your door. I was telling somebody that was a book I was trying to write 20 years ago. The first iteration of that book, it took me weeks to write that book. But when I said I want to write that book, because when I wrote that book, I lost the manuscript 20 years ago. Now, I wanted to write the book again a few weeks ago. I wrote that book in less than 3 days. And then designed it. I posted it on Gumroad and Seller, and I started selling 3,000 naira a copy. So I can sleep, and people are buying my book on Seller. So today, apart from just being an influential person or being an influencer, which is actually the tip of the iceberg, you have to find a way to begin to monetize your influence. And one of the ways is to create communities that people can subscribe to. You can create books, and then those books can sell 1,000 copies while you are sleeping, all right? You can create apps that people can subscribe to. So these are ways you can actually create generational wealth instead of just going for the likes and so on and so forth. I met a woman on YouTube. All this woman does is take Christian quotes, biblical quotes, and convert them into images, and then goes to Etsy and sell those quotes on Etsy. And she said, she has made thousands of dollars from just Christian quotes. She gets a quote on the Bible from ChatGPT, designs it into an image, and sells it on Etsy. And while she's sleeping, ordinary quotes, she's making money from quotes. So AI has made it very easy for us to write books, to write templates, to write ebooks, and you can make that same money several times. You know, so instead of just waiting for, like you said, seasonal income, create something that people can buy from you while you sleep. And that way you can actually sustain the income, you know, and so on and so forth.
Thank you, Mr. Darlington. The beautiful thing about our industry is you have it all round. It's either you're giving value, you're selling a service, just one thing, or even a product now. It's talking about books. You just have to do something in the social media space. Okay, Mr. Chukwudifu. Now we've talked about all this, but we want to understand what are those promising fintech innovations that could unlock new income streams for Nigerian youth, for the Nigerian youth that has listened to all this and still decides that he or she is not camera friendly. I still don't want to do content creation. What are those promising fintech innovations that they can still delve into and still, you know, make some income?
There's digital investment. Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. Digital investment platforms whereby it allows youths to save, to invest in stocks and crypto in small amounts, you know, thereby building wealth and also creating wealth through low barrier entries. There's also, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, there's also creators payment gateway for influencers, for digital content creators, whereby they monetize their funds through local and cross-border payment systems.
Okay, thank you very much. For you, George, what specific features in a smart investment tool are most critical for helping young creators build real long-term wealth? Please take notes, specific. Let's not generalize it now. Let's point out specific features that can help young creators.
I think that is a very interesting question. But before I get to answering it, there's some sort of like insight I have to share just to give context. What we see from user research and analyzing data is there are three components that have to come together for people to really be able to latch on to an investing product or an investment product. One is capital. Of course, you need to have the money, right, to try to invest. Two is time, and three is expertise. We call it knowledge. Just understanding. For example, with US stocks, you find that you can have the money, have the time, but then you don't know what to buy. Like, you don't even know where to start from. You don't know, you know, what positions you should be getting into, all of that. So why is this relevant in the context of like smart investing tools and features? It's because by the time you are requiring a user to bring in their capital, which is money they've made, and also spend their time to conduct research around understanding what to invest in, it feels like you're asking for too much. Because the time that I have now is what I can use to generate future income tomorrow. So in the case of a creator, or the context of a creator or creators, I can take that time to shoot another video. I can take that time to be researching how to edit a video, all of that stuff. So if I have to then spend that time to research whether, oh, all the dip with Netflix currently is just the fad, I should really get in, it becomes very expensive. So I think that where a smart tool would bridge that gap is saying you don't have to worry about all of that overhead. And even as a company, and just like the product team at Bamboo, we are sort of like, you know, evolving to the place where we are moving from Bamboo as an investment tool, you know, to becoming like an investment guide and some sort of like a partner, you know. So what you have to do is to be able to define your objective and in more very natural language, and the system can be able to do all of the other stuff and just abstract it for you, and you can focus on trying to make more money, and then it comes into the place. So there are a few things that I could sort of like share, but it might sound a bit also futuristic, but I think it's also a challenge to a lot of the product people here and people in finance and looking at this particular demographic, because as I described, if you take capital and then you also require time, it's very expensive, you know, for this particular segment. So you have to find a way to solve it. And I think technology has also come of age by the time you start to look at like AI and whatnot for us to. So what really needs to happen, in my perspective, with regards to AI, is a case where there can be the digital you, is duplication of self. So I had to move a lot around on my schedule today to make this session. But that means there's some sort of like work stuff that now doesn't get the attention of George. So what I think would really happen is a case where I can be here to share context and share knowledge of what George knows and has and contribute to this topic. And there's some other stuff still happening. Now, these areas would include investing as well. So if a tool understands what my objective is, this is what I'm trying to get to. These are like the threshold, you know, okay, because of my risk appetite, I'm willing to lose a bit of money, right? But it shouldn't be more than this amount. And that tool can just continue to do it on my behalf. I feel like it creates a lot of value for the future that we're stepping into. So this is how I want to describe it, instead of just getting into like more, oh, it should have this and all of the other stuff. And I hope it's helpful.
Awesome. I'll go straight or quickly into another conversation with you, Idris. So Philip said something when he was speaking the other time, and he spoke about how grants are now more like the mainstay. So I'm quite curious, as a VC investor, how does, for example, one of your portfolio startups, how does getting a grant or injecting a grant into their company, how does it affect your business as a VC?
So I think the first thing, talking about grants is about information, right? So a famous philosopher, Lai Wasabi, once said, info le info, right? So when you look at startups, we encourage a hybrid of approaches, but we also emphasize that it is important not to become grantpreneurs. There are folks who go around and all they're looking for is the next grant. And those grants sometimes don't build discipline. And you need discipline to run a business, right? And so we have moved from when it was about how fast can you raise to how long can you run on what you have raised. So with our founders today, it is not about raising to build. It's about building to raise, right? You build something and you raise. And so, yes, grants aid you, but you cannot build a dependence on grants because it's not long lasting, it's not tenable in the long run, and that's the way we approach that.
Quickly, Miriam, one advice you give to founders here in the room as they navigate funding or fundraising rather in 2025. One advice.
I would say, so speaking specifically to founders, raise funding to clear a pathway or to reach a milestone, right? So for example, let's say you raise like $200, that's your, $200,000, and that's your ask. Raise $200,000 to buy you 6 months, to reach 1,000 customers, to reduce your customer acquisition cost by 30%, and partner with a corporate. That's what I would say.
Amazing. Let's go to Philip. Philip, one advice you would give to founders in the room as they navigate fundraising in the rest of 2025 and 2026. Is Philip with us?
Okay. Yes, I'm here. I'll say that try and find a real problem that you intend to solve. Don't build solution to solve a problem. First, find a problem. When you have found this problem, validate that there's a business, there's an economics behind it. And there are a few ways to validate. Just get traction, get some of customers, see whether you can get revenue from this. Then after you have been able to validate it, then you can go pitch to get fund. Don't go look for fund while your business is not yet validated. Don't do it. Build first, validate it, and then go pitch for it. Your chances of getting funded is high. Your chances of building a successful business is higher. Thank you. That would be all for me.
Okay, thank you very much, our dear panelists. As part of your last words in the panel session, Tony, please advise youth on how they can avoid scams and risky platforms while trying to earn online.
All right. So I feel like we should adopt a healthy skepticism mindset. To speak freely, I feel like Nigerians feel like we're like very sharp. We're the sharpest guys in the room. But you have to understand that the same way you feel like you're sharp, the other platforms that are running these scams are also sharp. You can't time some of these things. So just be a healthy skeptic, right? Anything, I mean, it's cliche at this point, but anything that seems too good to be true, oftentimes is too good to be true, right? You have to remember that the race is not for the swift. It's a journey. Just take your time. If you want to build wealth, if you want to do anything, just be long-term minded and just stay consistent. And yeah, don't rush.
Thank you. An amazing session. Please let's give all our panelists a round of applause, please. If you know you definitely enjoyed this. So our takeaway from this session, now we're merging investments, we're merging products, and we're merging creativity, is every young person seated in this hall, we want to admonish you to say that your digital talent is a powerful asset, but it requires creativity. I think the product guys will agree with me. It requires strategic financial planning. And then it requires a commitment to leveraging the robust fintech tools that are now available across board. And I think I speak for everyone when I say that that's like our takeaway from this panel session. Are we good, guys? Okay, thank you very much. It was awesome being on this panel session. I'm moderating. Thank you.
Sorry, can we invite the panelists all to come back for pictures, please? Yes, can we please do it on the stage?
Dr. Stanley, please come up stage for the pictures as well.
So you'd face, I know we look pretty, but let's face that side.
Yes. Fantastic. Thank you.
Started with a dream like that. Numbers on the screen like that. Now we're going big like that. All over the world, yeah, yeah. Bringing up an ecosystem for growing in the fintech space. Giving you a platform where you innovate and share ideas. Fintech, fintech, moving easy, my dear. Fintech, 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 fintech. Oh, fintech NGR. Oh, fintech NGR. Oh, fintech NGR. Oh, fintech NGR.
All right, and the pictures are done. Thank you. Thank you very much. We have one last speaker.
Can we also then, if you, these were two mashed up panel sessions, so can we please have the first panel, moderators of the panels, you know your speakers, so let's have the first panel, and then we will have photo ops for the second panel as well.
Okay, the first panel has Yejide Lanre Basamta. Right? So So the first panel has Darlington, Mr. George, Mr. Tony, Earrings, and Chukwudifu.
And then can we have the second panel? This was...
The second panel, they've just had their picture. So we're calling the first panel now. Uchechi Ogwehi Daniel, Darlington Oyagoro, George Imodeme, Tony Odiba, Yerens Abraham, Chukwudifu Ugu. Please come back up stage. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was really insightful. Thank you. Now we're moving very quickly to our last speaker for the day. Please, I know we are really fueled and fired from everything that's happened all day, but please do not withhold your applause when we call up this speaker. It's our last speaker for the day. So please, with a loud round of applause, join me, welcome upstage, a Web3 strategist, Head of Marketing at MeWe, Miss Lisa Gibbons. A round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? I have come all the way from Dublin, Ireland, to see you guys and to be here at Fintech Week Nigeria. I am so honored and delighted to be part of the conversation. Let me tell you a little bit about me, a little bit about MeWe, and then a little bit about the power of connections, because that's what we're all doing here, connecting with each other at the conference. So me, I have a background of technology, 15 years, mostly in Web3, blockchain, consulting, been around the world, consult mostly in the US, and have my own agency in Ireland. And MeWe is a social networking platform. If you haven't heard of it, please join me on MeWe. We have 21 million people on platform. We're in 200 countries, and we are in 20 languages. The difference between MeWe and some of the other social networks that you are familiar with and that are probably on your phone today is that we are privacy-based. So we value your privacy. We don't track you with algorithms. And we don't harvest your data, so we don't sell your data for profit. So the idea about MeWe is you log in and you choose your interests, anything you like, food, music, dance, there's every type of group on MeWe. We have over 700,000 groups today, and we are delighted to be growing in Nigeria. So we have 20,000 Nigerians already on platform, so I am here. So a little story about the power of connection and MeWe and the conference is 2 years ago I was at a conference in Berlin, a blockchain conference, and I was sitting in the audience and I was giving out about, the speaker on stage was giving out about, he had no users for his apps, so he had all these tools and infrastructure and complicated blockchain products that he had built, and he was saying, oh, there's no users for these amazing tools, they're much better than Facebook, they're much better than anything else out there. And I was in the audience and I was sitting beside someone and I turned to the person and I said, but they haven't built anything that's easy to use. They haven't built anything that's fun or that's entertaining. And he said, oh, well, I have something. We have a thing called MeWe, and therefore he gave me a job. From the conference, I secured a role at MeWe, and I've been with MeWe for 18 months now. So it's the power of connection, the power of conferencing, and also the fact that MeWe recognized that there's an opportunity to transform social media as it exists today. We don't really need to be slaves to the algorithm. We don't really need to have all of our data harvested all the time. We can have real authenticity, real content, and real connections through social media. So I invite you today, I only had a few minutes of time, and I know everyone is very tired after a long day, but I invite everyone to connect with me on MeWe and join 20 million people on platform. I look forward to seeing you there, and hopefully I will bring more people back next year to the same conference. And I love Lagos and Nigeria. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was short and
Swift.
impactful as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We've had a fantastic day. We've had a fantastic 2 days, I must say.
That's right. I agree.
Yesterday we started the symphony, and now we got to the crescendo. We've gone from ta-da to I was here.
Yes, we did.
And it was really beautiful. Did we enjoy our time here at Fintech Nigeria Week? Did we enjoy our time here at Nigeria Fintech Week? Yes, fantastic. Please give the organizers of this program a round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, also as we're giving them a round of applause, we are ending the day, but we are not ending the week. There are still conversations on blockchain and other, I think, exhibition booths as well that they said would be on display tomorrow. So though we are closing this specific stage, it's a week. So tomorrow you are welcome to come back here, engage, go through the exhibition booths. Some of the things that you weren't able to see today and experience, we invite you to come in tomorrow and have those conversations and visit all of those exhibition booths.
Yeah, all the questions you wanted to ask all our speakers, some of them will be available as they have their stands at the exhibition area. So please be here tomorrow for blockchain conversation and the exhibition. Without further ado,
we would like to
bring up the president of Nigeria Fintech Week, Dr.
Dr.
Stanley
Stanley
Jacobs,
Jacob.
for his closing remarks.
Thank you. Everyone is busy. It's been an amazing, long time today. At some point, I was struggling with how to balance this session and the amazing sessions happening out there. The Dev Tribe, we had the Faith Tech, and so many amazing things. I'm not going to take time on these closing remarks because I know that our rapporteurs are putting together the summary of this engagement. Just to thank everyone and to say we'll close this out tomorrow, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.
Please get a picture with the president.
Yes, because you've taken pictures with everyone except the MC.
And you can
So
give
it's
us
our
a round
turn.
of applause as we do that.
Starting with a dream like that. Numbers on the screen like that. Now we're going big like that. All over the world, yeah, yeah. Bringing up an ecosystem for growing in the fintech space. Giving you a platform where you innovate and shine, yeah.
Fintech. Fintech.
Fintech. Fintech. Fintech. Oh, fintech and GR. Oh, fintech and GR. Oh,
Thank you very
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you.
our digital future, seamless trading, fintech dominating, innovative, imaginative, creative, inventive.
Redefining the system.
Fintech.
It a flow like water.